Good evening and good day, everybody, and welcome back to the Ask Abhijit show. This is episode 335. And in today's episode, we're going to discuss mainly the ongoing and escalating war, which is the war in the Middle East, the Iran war, the uh, American and Israeli war attack on Iran, and the escalating circumstances. So we're going to discuss that. Uh, Before we do that, obviously, let me see who all is there on the live chat. I can see a whole lot of people. Good to see you all. I won't be able to greet you all individually. Sam the Gamer Manhattan, Sam the Gamer Real Vladimir Putin, Soldier Boy, Shri Ramachandraya Namaha, Ritik Pawar, Big Dogson, Daksh Garg, Sam Winston, Ankit Das, Pratardana, GGEZS, Harsh Singh, Noah Wilson, Geopolitical Dubai from Indore. Good evening. Who else do we have? Chaitanya Manuja. Um, who else? Who else? Lots of people. Shiva Sai, Harsh Singh, Rekha Humle. Good evening, Jai Shri Ram. Agam Senpai, Sergeant Skylan, Amisha Mishra, Advait Ashwini, Putin KM, etc. Who else? Rahul is here. Rahul with an interesting surname. Black Panther is here. Soldier Boy once again. Advait Ashwini. Let me see the latest ones. Mastan, Nilai DH, Hey, Samrat Shukla, Chirag Punjabi, GXY, Pranav 581, Pratim Day, Animish Bharatiya, Priyanka Javalia, good evening. Ayush Singh, Pranam Sarji, Parag Chauhan, Jai Shri Ram, Akshay Srivastav, Space One, Tamogna Purikastha, hello. Himanshu Rajpurohit, Prasann NH, Vashisht, Jai Shri Vishnu, okay. McLevin, good evening. Commando is here from Iran. Samarth Pusalkar, Situ, Rishikesh Pai is here from Bangalore. Singh Arnav, Rishikesh Matre, hello. Akshay Shukla, what's up? Terminator 606, Bin Salman from Saudi Arabia. Plank Cog, Talk to AI, Shomik Sahu, Karan Singh Punder, Om Naik, Suraj, Honey Badger of Kalinga, hello. Aman Tiwari, Mahita Bushetti, good evening, ma'am. Parag Chauhan, good evening, sir. With Rakshit, hello. Kabira, Madhav, Nishchay Agarwal Vlogs. Somi is here also. Vijay Waghela Kemcho, the Tan 5G, Wise Idiot, and so many other people. I won't be able to greet you all individually, but thank you so much for being on this live stream. And there's a lot to discuss. So what's happened so far? I mean, I did the last live stream less than 48 hours ago, and so much has happened ever since, right? In the intervening 2-day period. This is the third day of the war that we have in the Middle East, and a lot has happened. The war has expanded, it has escalated, and India has picked a side very clearly. India has picked the side. Now, why do I say that India has picked the side? Well, let's take a look at the Twitter account of our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, right? Let's see what Mr. Modi has had to say about the ongoing conflict. What's the best way to put this? Is this better? I think this is okay. Let's do it this way. So, what has Prime Minister Modi said thus far about this war? There's a whole lot of activity on his Twitter account, of course. A lot of political tweets, of course, that is going to be there. But yeah, let's go up and see his tweets about the ongoing conflict. So this is 20 years ago. Spoke with the president of the UAE, my brother Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, strongly condemned the attacks on the UAE and condoled the loss of lives in these attacks. India stands in solidarity with the UAE in these difficult times, thanked him for taking care of the Indian community living in the UAE. We support de-escalation, regional peace, security, and stability. So the UAE is a very strong partner of India's. Of course, we know that. Lots of Indians live there. About 40% of UAE's population is of Indian origin, and so on. And India has excellent relations with the UAE. So this obviously makes sense. This tweet, of course, right? Okay, so that's about the UAE. Now we have a tweet in Arabic. This is about the same tweet in Arabic about the UAE. Then Mr. Modi had a telephone call with Israel's Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu, to discuss the current regional situation, conveyed India's concerns about our recent developments, and emphasized the safety of civilians as a priority. India reiterates the need for an early cessation of hostilities. Okay, so that's about Mr. Netanyahu with the same tweet in Hebrew. What else do we have afterwards? Uh, Now we have a tweet about Bahrain. Had a productive telephone conversation with the King of Bahrain, His Majesty King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. India condemns the attack on Bahrain, obviously the attacks by Iran on Bahrain, and stands in solidarity with Bahrain's people in this difficult hour. I thank him for the steadfast support extended to the Indian community in Bahrain. So India condemns the attacks by Iran on Bahrain. Then it's about Saudi Arabia. Discussed the evolving situation in West Asia with Crown Prince and Prime Minister of Saudi Arabia, His Royal Highness Prince Mohammed bin Salman. India condemns the recent attacks in Saudi Arabia in violation of its sovereignty and territorial integrity. We agreed that the earliest restoration of regional peace and stability is of utmost importance. I thanked him for looking after the well-being of the Indian community in these difficult times. So again, Prime Minister Modi speaks with the leader of Saudi Arabia and condemns once again the recent attacks by Iran on Saudi Arabia. So India condemns the attacks by Iran on Saudi Arabia, by Iran on Bahrain, and the attacks by Iran on the UAE, right? So Iran is not mentioned by name, but it's obvious that Prime Minister Modi is speaking about Iran and no other nation. The attacks by Iran on these nations. Okay. Now it's this is the interesting part. If you look at the Twitter account of the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Shahbaz Sharif, you will see that he put out this tweet on the 1st of March, yesterday, early evening. The government and the people of Pakistan join the people of Iran in their hour of grief and sorrow and extend the most sincere condolences on the martyrdom of His Eminence Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. Pakistan also expresses concern about the violation of the norms of international law, because the attack on a sovereign nation is a violation of international law. The attack by Israel and the US. It is an age-old convention that heads of state and government should not be targeted. Absolutely, that's correct. We pray for the departed soul and so on, right? Iranian people to bear this irreparable loss. So Prime Minister Sharif of Pakistan offered condolences to the people of Iran on the assassination of the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. It is really interesting that Prime Minister Modi made no such statement of condolence or even taking note of the assassination of Mr. Khamenei. So what does this indicate? This indicates that India has chosen what side it is on. India has decided that we are on the side of the US and Israel and their allies in West Asia. And we are going to condemn the actions by Iran, which obviously, as we know, the actions by Iran are in response to the attacks on Iran. The actions by Iran are in response to what happened on the first day, which is the assassination of Mr. Khamenei. Whether it's right or wrong is a different matter. But this is what happened. This is how the war started, by the Israeli and then US attacks on Iran and the assassination of the head of state, essentially the head of state, the supreme leader of Iran. Right? And India has had a pretty good relationship with Iran until the last few months, until the last few weeks, actually. Right? But now India has decided that we're going to stand with the US, Israel, and their allies in West Asia. And we are not standing with Iran. We're not going to condole the assassination of the supreme leader, and so on. So let's understand one thing very clearly. India's decision is a practical decision. It is not an ideological decision. India has decided to stand with the US, Israel, and the other nations for practical reasons, not for ideological reasons. It's not about who is right, who's wrong. We all know who's right, who's wrong, and that is up to you to decide who's right and who's wrong. But we know what international law is. We know that international law doesn't allow the violation of a nation's sovereignty. International law doesn't allow the assassination of the leader of a nation, and so on. But India has chosen to disregard that. India has chosen to be on the side of Israel, Iran, Israel, US, and the other nations that are allied with them for practical reasons. Right? So that's where we stand. And a whole lot has happened beyond that in the past 48 or so hours. So what's happened in the last 24 hours? Let me just take a look. US and Israeli strikes on Iran continued at high intensity. Okay, further attacks on missile infrastructure and air bases. At least one Iranian warship, probably multiple Iranian warships, and Iran kept up its missile strikes and drone strikes on Israel and a number of other nations in the Gulf region, in the West Asia region, the Persian Gulf region. All the nations that host US military personnel or US military infrastructure on their territory, right? Um, Hezbollah has also gotten involved in the matter. Hezbollah has launched rocket attacks on northern Israel. That's what one hears. Okay, one hears that a number of American fighter planes have been brought down, have been shot down in Kuwait. Now, if you look at the map of Kuwait, let's go to the map, shall we? If you look at the map of Kuwait, it's right. I mean, Kuwait is this tiny little nation which borders Iraq and Iran. Okay, where's Kuwait? Kuwait is here, and it essentially borders three nations: Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran. No direct connection with Iran, no direct border, but it's, you could say, a border nation with Iran. I mean, it's right next door to Iran. So at least three F-15 fighter planes of the United States have been brought down, have been shot down in Kuwaiti territory, or maybe along the Kuwait-Iran boundary border, almost border, right? And one hears that this was a friendly fire incident, maybe mistaken identity. Maybe Kuwait was shooting at drones or missiles fired by Iran, and maybe that's how they ended up shooting down American fighter planes. But that remains to be seen. Some US personnel have also been killed. Warships have been sunk. At least 9 naval vessels have been sunk. Iranian naval vessels. That's what one hears. There were reports that an American aircraft carrier has been targeted with ballistic missiles by Iran. Right. So all that is happening, and Iran has targeted at least one Saudi oil installation that belongs to Aramco, the big Saudi company. And there's maybe the drones or missiles were brought down, but there's been a big fire there, and that's why the operations have stopped over in that refinery. Even Oman was hit by Iran. Duqm port in Iran was hit by Iranian drones, Shahed drones possibly, and there's been some damage there, which is interesting because Oman does not host any American military installations, or as far as I know, American military personnel, right? That is what's going on, and this war continues. It's obviously expanding. Dubai has been targeted. Lots and lots of bombardment, missile attacks on Israel. Abu Dhabi was targeted. Dubai, the big hotel, the Burj Al Arab was targeted, and so much more, right? So this is an ongoing situation. What we are seeing is that Iran has pretty sophisticated missiles, pretty sophisticated ballistic missiles. Let me try and find the report. Give me a second. Let me find. I mean, what exactly Iran's ballistic missile capabilities are like. They have made pretty interesting improvements in their ballistic missiles. Let me give you a second. Please give me a second, and I'll show you what's happening. Do I have it? Give me a second. Obviously, I'm going to have to rely on Twitter because Twitter has. Yeah. Okay. So take a look at this. Okay. Take a look at this. So Iran, its ballistic missiles, once they re-enter the atmosphere and they come to an altitude of about 10 kilometers or something, in the terminal phase, what happens is that the Iranian ballistic missiles are releasing a swarm of about 25 penetration aids that whose objective is to confuse the air defenses. So when you have a Patriot missile or Iron Dome missile going up to intercept this ballistic missile at whatever altitude suddenly releases a whole swarm of about 25 penetration aids that behave just like, that have the same temperature and profile as the ballistic missile itself. So they are hot, glowing objects that essentially mimic from an interceptor's perspective a ballistic missile, and that what it is doing is that it's confusing the interceptors, the Patriot missiles and the Iron Dome missiles, and that's why these Iranian ballistic missiles are able to successfully, in many cases, hit their targets. And after these penetration aids are deployed, the swarm is deployed, the ballistic missiles warhead suddenly acquires hypersonic velocity in the last 10 kilometers or so. So its speed suddenly shoots up and then it slams into the target. So Iran has pretty sophisticated capabilities, and it's causing a lot of trouble. It's causing a lot of trouble uh, for Israel and the American missile defense systems, the Iron Dome, and so on. So there's been apparently a lot of damage in Israel, and that situation is ongoing. Iran has also decentralized its military command. So Iran, how many? Let's see, how many provinces does Iran have? Let's quickly take a look at how many provinces Iran has. Um, how many must be about 30. Does Iran have? Must be 30 provinces, 31 provinces. So each province is now going to have its own IRGC command. Okay, and they will all act independently. The Revolutionary Guards Command. So each province will have its own army, its own command and control infrastructure, its own missiles, everything, and they're gonna act completely independent of each other. So even if the Iranian high command is completely decimated, decapitated, taken out, Iran keeps fighting. Even if Iran is defeated at the center in Tehran, and let's say American or Israeli forces are coming in, Iran will now fight from 31 different angles, 31 different independent armies. So even if Iran is defeated, this can cause a multiple year long insurgency that will fight any potential occupiers or attempted occupation attempts of Iran. So Iran has clearly thought this out, and they seem to have very large stockpiles of missiles and drones. Okay, the Shahed drones, loitering drones, and all. And the thing is this. Um, these systems like the Iron Dome missile system, the Patriot missile system, which are air defense systems which intercept missiles, each missile of these each interceptor missile costs more than $1 million. But these Shahed drones, they cost $20,000. So the economics doesn't make sense. To bring down a $20,000 drone, they're going to have to spend you're going to have to waste at least one missile that costs at least $1 million. So Iran may have very large quantities of these drones, and this could cause a rapid depletion of the stocks of Iron Dome and Patriot missiles. Then what do you do once you run out of these missiles? Then you are setting targets. So yeah, I mean, Iran has really thought this through, and I'm sure that they still have many tricks up their sleeves. Now, what is going in favor of the US? Every time the Iranians launch missiles, the American surveillance system, the satellites, and whatever else, they can hopefully, from their perspective, start detecting where the launches are happening from. So if these are silos in the ground, they can be taken out. If these are transporter, erector, launcher vehicles, it's harder to take these out. So the Americans and Israelis will soon start identifying where the launches are happening from and try and take those launchers out. So it's a game of cat and mouse that we are seeing right now. And right now, Iran is doing a pretty good job actually of defending itself and actually attacking the various targets that they have in mind. So that is the situation. It's nobody is winning or losing the war. Iran is doing a good job defending itself. Iran has been attacked, right? Iran did not start the attack, so you could say that Iran is defending itself. It's doing a pretty good job thus far, but it's very early days in the war. Um, if this goes on for, let's say, a week, then the stocks of defensive missiles like the Iron Dome and so on may start running out. And then what does the US do? What does Israel do? Does the US ask for a ceasefire? That will be humiliating for the US. But will Iran last a week also? That's also a question. So in 7 days' time, will Iran still be fighting? If it is still fighting, then it's advantage Iran, because the stocks of defensive missiles will definitely get depleted or start getting depleted by the time. If that happens, what does Trump do? Trump will not tolerate any humiliation. Will he resort to more powerful measures? What kind of powerful measures are we talking about? Well, there are all kinds of powerful measures, including nuclear weapons. But if Iran is decentralized and it has 31 different armies fighting, how many nukes could you possibly use? Right. So the situation, it's not a cakewalk for the US and Israel. It's pretty hard. Iran is showing up a real fight. It's giving a real fight, right? So for us, outside of this entire thing, for us as neutral observers, what does this all mean? Well, the Strait of Hormuz is closed for the first time in history. What's the Strait of Hormuz? Let's go to the map. The Strait of Hormuz, the Iranians have closed it. Okay, no ship can pass through without getting targeted by Iran. This geographic choke point is the Strait of Hormuz, and much of the oil that comes to India and China and Japan passes through this choke point. This is currently closed. So India is now not getting any oil that was flowing into India from the UAE or Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or wherever, or Iraq or wherever. And the same goes for China. India has strategic oil reserves. China also has strategic oil reserves. But this is a huge issue for India, China, and Japan. So India seems to have restarted its Russian oil deliveries. Yeah. Okay. And China also has access to Russian oil. But very soon there's going to be, if this continues, there's going to be a oil shock in the world. Oil prices will shoot up massively. And because of that, the prices of your tomatoes and onions and everything will shoot up very, very massively. If this goes on the next 7 days, for 7 days, 10 days or whatever. So that's an immediate impact for India, for China, for Japan, for Pakistan, whoever else. And also the Iranians are alleging that the Pakistanis allowed American aircraft to use Pakistani airspace for attacks on Iran. So Iran could potentially target Pakistan now. Yeah. So this is escalating. Iran is not being defeated as of now. Iran is fighting. And there are serious questions as to how long the US can keep this up. And also how long Iran can survive. Right? It's not like Iran is winning. Iran is holding its ground right now. But how long can it hold its ground? And if it holds its ground for a significant amount of time, then what can the US and Israel do? Right? So big questions up in the air right now. We don't have answers. We'll have to wait and watch day by day how this goes. So that is the situation in brief. Now let's take questions, shall we? Black Panther says, today evening, US Secretary of War press briefing. This war is not for Iran regime change operation. What is the reason the US has changed its position? Right. So when the war started, President Trump said that this was all about regime change. Prime Minister Netanyahu also said that we want to defeat Iran and change the regime. Right. They did not use those exact words, but that was the meaning. That was the meaning of their statements. Regime change in Iran. Clearly, unambiguously, regime change in Iran. Now it looks like there's something else coming from the US. So I haven't seen this press briefing, but if it is true that they're now saying it's not for regime change, then what is it all about? What is it all about? Right? If you don't change the regime, then why did you launch this war? You want to defeat Iran militarily and then continue the regime to go on? Is that what you want? But then why did you say in the beginning it was regime change? So why has the US changed its position? Because maybe they have recalibrated their expectations based on how the war has gone thus far. Right? Iran has not been rolled over. Iran is fighting back very hard, actually, as of now at least. So maybe that's one of the reasons why this statement may have come out of the US. Next question. Agam Senpai says, almost 50% of India's oil passes via the Strait of Hormuz. Why are some Indian geo experts celebrating US-Israel strikes, which risks India's oil supply? Next, funded internal conflicts among us. Look, I don't know why Indian geopolitical experts say this or say that, or why they say what they do. I can't possibly comment about why they say what they do, what they say. I don't know. Why are some Indians, I mean, there are plenty of Indians on social media who are celebrating the US and Israel strikes on Iran. See, for us, we are not involved in this matter, right? So ideally, Indians should be neutral about this. But yeah, I can't possibly give you an answer about why are some Indians celebrating this. This is obviously, the longer this war lasts, the more hardship India will face, because oil prices rise up. Oil prices will rise significantly if this war continues. If the Strait of Hormuz remains closed for a week, 10 days, 2 weeks, it's going to be bad for India and many other countries, including China. So I don't know. Indians are emotional people, and I don't know if how. Yeah. So I can't say, I can't tell you why they are celebrating. But yeah. Sergeant Skyland says, "Is IMEC just a pipe dream?" India, Middle East, Europe trade corridor. That's IMEC. So, what is this IMEC thing and what is it like? So, the idea of IMEC is that, let's say we have ports in Western India, like Mumbai, for example. Okay, from there we can we can connect with the Arabian Peninsula, maybe via Oman, via UAE, or wherever. Then we can send goods into the Arabian Peninsula. They will build railways and other infrastructure to have the goods cross the Arabian Peninsula. Then you can enter Israel via Jordan or wherever. And from Israel, in Israel, we have Haifa port, which we are operating, which the Adani Group is operating. At least some terminals are being operated by the Adani Group. So from Haifa, we can have more ships going into perhaps Cyprus or and Greece, right? The port of Rhodes and other ports in Greece, and from there we can connect to Europe. So it can be a back and forth kind of trade corridor, and which will be beneficial for India, for the Arabian nations, for Israel, and for the European nations, right? Because this will enable more trade at cheaper costs. It will be cheaper. So that's the idea of IMEC. Is it a pipe dream? Well, when West Asia is so unstable, so when was the concept of IMEC put forth? It, it was spoken about first, if I recall correctly, during the 2023 G20 summit in India, in Delhi, right? In the last quarter of 2023. And immediately after that, we had the Hamas attack on Israel, which completely destabilized the region, and IMEC could not take off at the time. The Saudis wanted it to start immediately. So yeah, you had the Gaza situation, which went on for a long time. Then the Houthi situation, Bab al Mandeb was closed for a while, and so on. So that's why no progress could be made on building the infrastructure. And now you have this war in the region, which obviously means you can't build any infrastructure there at the time. So as long as the Middle East remains conflict prone and unstable, IMEC is going to remain a pipe dream. If the West Asia region can be stabilized so that there is no more war, no more conflict, then IMEC can possibly take off. Until then, it is a pipe dream. Putin says, can Iran turn into America's Ukraine if it sends troops? Well, the question is, if the US sends troops into Iran, boots on the ground, can Iran turn into America's Ukraine? It depends on multiple factors. The Iranians have decentralized their their military command, and now you have 31 different armies fighting independently. That can significantly cause significant problems to any invading forces, right? Significant problems, because it's not as easy as taking out the command and control, the leadership. You have 31 different sets of leadership, and they will all have their fallback options, each of them. So it's going to be very difficult. Secondly, how long can Iran keep fighting if nobody supplies it with more arms and ammunition? So that is also a factor. If Russia decides to supply Iran with arms and ammunition, then Iran can possibly keep fighting for a long time. So this is going to be very tricky, very dicey for any invading forces. Iran's going to fight. I mean, you had this horrible incident of an attack on an Iranian school in which hundreds of schoolgirls were killed. Even if Iranians don't support the regime of the Ayatollahs, this sort of thing is going to unify the Iranian nation, the people of Iran, right? So it's not going to be easy. The common citizens may fight if required. I think the objective of the US is to balkanize Iran, actually, because in Iran only 50% of the population is Persian. The rest are various other ethnicities like Azerbaijanis and Arabs and Balochis and whatnot. So I think the objective is to balkanize Iran, actually. Balkanization is a favorite strategy of the West. Division, partition, balkanization, all of that. So maybe that's an objective, but it's going to be tough. Amisha says, arresting, eliminating leaders is the new normal now. Nationalists are saying it's better to side with Israel. Iran is also retaliating. Is Iran capable of a long war? So, first of all, yes, international law apparently no longer exists. You can now assassinate world leaders. You can arrest and kidnap world leaders. That's what the US is doing now. They kidnapped Mr. Maduro, the president of Venezuela, and now they have assassinated Mr. Khamenei, the elderly supreme leader of Iran. So it's perfectly fine if the US does it, or if you are a US ally who does it. Yeah. So see, look, what is now happening in the world? It actually is the world defaulting to normal, the world reverting to normal. No more niceties. Power is going to be shown and flaunted and used openly. Whoever is powerful can do what they want. Whoever is weak, they have to tolerate whatever happens. And that's how the world has always been. The past 70, 80 years was kind of an anomaly, an aberration. And we are reverting to a world where might is right. Might was still right in the past 80 years, but it was done in a very subtle way. Now it's just open. Uh, yeah, and nationalists are saying it's better to side with Israel. Well, I don't know. I would say, look, from India's perspective, we should remain neutral about this. Um, we should not take this side or that side, but we have taken sides now. The Prime Minister of India has clearly made a decision that we're going to side with Israel and the US and their allies in West Asia. So, yeah, so if nationalists are saying it's better to side with Israel, then the Prime Minister clearly agrees with them. And Iran is retaliating. Is it capable of a long war? Well, time will tell, but I think it is capable of a long war. Black Panther says Russia-Ukraine war under the Biden. They refused to talk with Putin. Trump came, power deal is on. Putin delay reason US put more pressure on India. Modi got played. Yeah, Russia-Ukraine war went on. Yeah, okay, under Biden. They refused. The US refused to talk with Putin. Yeah, true. Trump came, power deal is on. Power deal? Which power deal? Trump met with Putin and he tried to. Trump wanted an immediate end to the war. That's obviously that obviously did not happen. Putin delay reason India put more pressure on India. Putin delayed agreement. That's why US is putting more pressure on India. Putin's primary job, is to take care of his nation and his national interest. His job is not to worry about what happens to Modi or India, right? Putin's first and only responsibility is to look out for Russia's national interest. You can't blame Putin for delaying. If the Americans say that sign a lopsided agreement, why should Putin sign it? Right? Why should Putin give America what it wants on America's terms? Right? So, yeah, Modi got played. No, Modi has not got played. India isn't powerful enough to remain neutral in this matter. Modi has not got played. Adi Pradhan says, views on Mexico conflict, US involvement. So it's an old story in Mexico, in South America, in Central and South America. It's an old story, these cartels and all. That's been going on forever. The Americans have launched multiple wars on drugs, but they remain the primary consumer of all drugs produced in the world. For example, I can show you something that happened when I was a kid. Okay, when I was a kid, this is what happened. See, Operation Condor. Okay, it was a campaign of political repression by right-wing dictatorship of the southern cone of South America. Pinochet, etc. It was about drugs, wasn't it? If I remember correctly. Drugs. Well, it has no mention of drugs, but this was about drugs. Anyhow, so the Americans have been fighting wars on drugs against cartels and all for a very long time. But the cartels still keep supplying America with drugs. And right now we have this conflict that's happened in Mexico. A cartel leader got killed and the cartel went after the government and so on. Is there US involvement? I suppose whatever happens in the Americas, there is some level of US involvement in that. Prasaradana says, I have seen the divine justice. A few years ago, a female politician was sidelined by her own party due to Arabs. Also caused riots and killings. I'm not sure who you're referring to. In which country? You're talking about India? You're talking about somebody else? Some other country? Due to Arabs. I have no idea what you're talking about, unfortunately. I'm not getting the context. Is it a female politician in India or some other country? Not sure. Sorry. Ankit Das, thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Ritik Pawar says, if India becomes an American vassal, shouldn't we blame the government? Even weaker governments in the past did not bow down. Why should we tolerate it this time for any reason? If India becomes an American vassal, who is to blame? The government of India is to blame clearly. See, in the past, we had weaker governments, sure. Let's say in the 20th century, we had much weaker governments. India was a much weaker nation at the time. But in the 20th century, there was a balance in the world. You had not one superpower, you had two superpowers. So you could play one off against the other. That's what you could do in the 20th century. Today, the world is lopsided. There's only one superpower. There's nobody who can stand up to America's might. And that's why if the Americans ask us to make a choice, we have to make a choice. Now, in that scenario, how can we blame the government of India? India is simply not powerful enough. But the truth is, if we had put our house in order in the past 10, 12, 15 years, India may possibly have been in a situation where we could stand up for ourselves and not become anybody's vassal. If we had, for example, cleaned up the military acquirement processes of weapon systems and all, and if we had focused full-fledged or full force on indigenization of defense equipment, and if we had acquired somehow or the other 200 more fighter planes instead of 36, and if we had ensured that we have indigenous AI systems that are being built, and if we had ensured that we are not penetrated by foreign social media and AI and technology and all that, if we had done all those things, if we had set up a high quality R&D environment which needs educational reforms and all that, if we had done all those things in the past 15 years, then we would not possibly perhaps be in a situation where we have to accept American overlordship over India. So from that perspective, you should blame the government, yes. But if you forget what's happened in the past 15 years and look at India's position today, then India is simply not strong enough. And that's why the government of India today has no choice. Vaishnav, thank you very much, sir. Adi Pradhan says, view on recent Indian NOTAM. I have no idea. I've not looked into NOTAMs, but let's take a look at it, okay? India, come on. India, NOTAM. Do we have any NOTAM? NOTAM summaries. 350. Mumbai airport stops flight diversions. I'm not sure what the NOTAM is. Is it about the India diverting flights, etc., because of the situation in West Asia? Well, that makes complete logical sense, right? So I'm not sure if there's any NOTAM related to missile tests or whatever. But if this is the NOTAM, taking into consideration the situation in West Asia, well, that makes complete logical sense. All right. KRS Nai Krishna is singularity. Has become a new member. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Welcome to the channel's membership. Pratardana says India votes against the US and Israel in the UN. Why? Well, it depends on the issue. India's support to various issues or various voting situations is issue based. So I am sure there are many cases in which India votes on the side of the US and Israel also, right? So it depends on the issue that we are voting about, that is being voted for or against. It's not like India has a pattern of always voting against the US and Israel in the UN. That's not the case. There are lots of UN votes in which India has voted on the side of the US and Israel. So it depends on the specific issue that is being voted for. Yeah. Mr. Rohit says, why Russia did not share nukes with Iran like the US does? The US does not share nukes with anybody whatsoever. The US doesn't share nukes with anybody. But it does place nukes on other nations' territory. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question for conceptual understanding. In which nations has the US deployed nuclear weapons? It's going to be mostly NATO nations. So let's see. Five NATO nations: Belgium, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Turkey. So the US deploys its own nuclear weapons in a bunch of countries. Five, they are typically members of NATO. NATO nations are not sovereign nations. They are nations that are essentially whose military and whose fate is controlled by the US. So the US deploys American nuclear weapons on those nations' territories, and those American nuclear weapons are only controlled by American personnel, not by the personnel of those nations: Belgium, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Turkey. No Belgian personnel have access to American nuclear weapons. No Turkish personnel have access to American nuclear weapons. They can't. I suppose they don't even get to see the nuclear weapons. It is American military personnel and technical personnel who have the custodianship of those American nuclear weapons. America doesn't share nuclear weapons with anybody whatsoever. Okay, that is something we have to understand. Nuclear technology, nuclear weapons are not to be shared. It's too sensitive and it's too critical, and that's why Russia has not done that with Iran. Krishna Singularity says, Jai Shri Ram, Abhijit. Thank you very much, sir. Jai Shri Ram to you. Indeed. I've been a student of yours since 2020. You have inspired my way of thinking greatly. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you so much, sir. Such a nice thing to say. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you have learned something. Hopefully, it's more than something from me. I'm very glad. You are most welcome indeed, sir. Thank you. Anshu Jain says, in the last 2 days, we saw in Iran's hypersonic missiles could not be stopped by Israel and the USA. Why are they not hitting the USS Abraham Lincoln by these missiles? You don't do everything on day one, right? You don't do that on day one. You don't show all your cards on day one. Let me give you another example of what Iran hasn't done thus far. Okay, I'm not suggesting this should be done. I'm just saying this is another thing Iran has not done thus far. Okay, let's go to the map. Please don't misconstrue what I'm saying over here, that I am suggesting Iran should do this. I am not suggesting anything. I'm just saying, I'm giving you another example of what Iran has not done. Let's go to Israel, the nation of Israel. Okay, now let's go to satellite imagery. So we have Israel. Now we have the town of Beersheba. Okay, near the town of Beersheba, we have Dimona, and near Dimona, we have this pretty clearly visible installation. Is it? No, this is not the one. Where is it? It's going to be very clearly visible. Oh, here we are. The Negev Desert. The Negev Nuclear Research Center. Okay, and we have nuclear reactors over here. And this is allegedly where Israel's nuclear weapons are produced and so on. We don't know whether they're stockpiled, whatever. My point is, see, I'm not suggesting for 1 second that Iran should target this. My point is, this is another, potential target Iran has, right? So there are aircraft carriers, there are nuclear installations, there are many other targets that Iran could potentially want to choose. But Iran won't do it on day one. It depends on how serious the situation is. So depending on the seriousness and severity of the challenge that Iran is facing, depending on that, Iran will take decisions. So if Iran is in very bad situation in let's say in X number of days, then they may decide to hit such targets, right? And the Israelis would have kept separate missiles to defend these sites, obviously. So this is the way war is done, right? Iran will not hit everything on day one. Iran obviously will be hoping that the Americans and Israelis will ask for a ceasefire sometime soon. They'll be hoping for it. See, if Iran hits an aircraft carrier, then that's a humiliation for the US. And then Trump has no choice but to go all in. Iran doesn't want a situation where Trump has to go all in and all out against them, which means destruction of Iran. The US can destroy Iran, actually. Right? And if they hit a nuclear power plant or nuclear research station of Israel, then Israel may use certain weapons it would otherwise not use. So that's the point. Escalation is done step by step, gradually. You don't go from point 1 to point 100 straight away. That's the point. I am Anonymous says, remember the statement of Ajit Doval's statement on revenge. There was the biggest clue which we all missed. What was the statement? I'm not aware of Ajit Doval's statement on revenge. Let me see if I can find out. Okay. Ajit Doval's statement on revenge. Ajit Doval's statement on revenge. Oh, I can do that. That's fantastic. Um, January 2026, he urged youth to avenge our history to build a stronger India, a powerful force for nation building and revenge for history. Okay, I'm not sure what is the clue for what we all missed. Maybe I'm not looking at the correct statement. Maybe it was a statement made 5 years ago. I don't know. But I'm not sure what the context is. If you can give me the statement, then maybe I can get more context. All right. Hani Sharma, as always, wants to remind me about the movie Tumbad. Right now, I'm not in a position to watch Tumbad. I'm looking at what's happening in West Asia. But yes, too bad Shri Khamenei ji passed away without watching Tumbad. Okay. 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 Ayers Manticore says, do not despair, sir. Even if we are aligned, it doesn't mean vassalization. Our country will change, our civilization will not fall or be erased. It's evolving as it always has. The deracialization will reverse in due time. Anonymous G, thank you very much for this very positive message. I agree with you. We should not despair. We should always be positive. We should always be optimistic. And while being positive and optimistic, we should work towards making India better and stronger as a nation and also civilizationally. So I thank you for this very positive statement, and I completely agree with you, sir. Putin, etc., says, do you miss the USSR? Would the US have dared to do this if they were still there? Unfortunately, Russia stuck with Putin and his Jewish oligarchs with Israeli citizenship. Okay, I'm not aware of Jewish oligarchs and Israeli citizenship and all. Russia has Putin. Look, do I miss the USSR? Not necessarily. Look, when I was a kid, I was scared of the USSR because I was completely influenced by whatever I read in English, and I spent a few years as a kid in the West and so on. So my entire worldview was shaped by the West. And I was as a kid, I was scared of the USSR. Today, I see the USSR very differently, of course, right? Because I'm no longer a 8-year-old. I see it very differently. Do I miss it? No, it's gone. What's the point of missing what's gone? What's the point of wishful thinking and all? I don't miss the USSR. It's gone. It's just a fact of life. Would the US have dared to do this if the USSR was still around? No. No way. No way. Yeah. It wouldn't have happened if the USSR was still in existence. Vidya Mandiyar says, Iran is fighting openly. How is it non-sovereign? Ma'am, that's a very, very good question. Iran is fighting openly. Iran is fighting without the support of anybody else, without any substantial support from either Russia or China. So Vidhi is asking, how is then Iran non-sovereign? Right? Here's my answer to you, ma'am. Here's my answer. Take a look. So this is a tweet by me from about an hour and a half ago. Right? This is the what you are. If you are a viewer of this channel, you would have known this for years. The Chavda sovereignty framework since 2021. There are only 6 sovereign nations on earth: the US, Russia, China, India, Israel, and Iran. Every other nation exists as a semi-sovereign state or a geopolitical vassal. So Iran is fighting for survival without Chinese or Russian support. Therefore, Iran is the newest addition to the list. If you want this graphic, if you want this image, simply go to my Twitter profile. You will find it there. So I have added, see, this is an evolving framework. It evolves depending on the situation. Okay? If Iran loses this war in, let's say, a month's time, then I will again remove Iran from this. Until now, I had not put Iran there because Iran was significantly dependent on Russia and China for a variety of things. But right now, today, at this very hour, Iran is fighting without anyone's support. Right? It's fighting for its survival. It's fighting for its sovereignty. As of today, as of right now at least, Iran is a fully sovereign nation. So there are 6 fully sovereign nations in the world. And I will have to revisit each nation and see once again in a while whether they deserve to be fully sovereign. Out of those 6, how many actually deserve to be there? We will see. Maybe in a week's time, maybe in a month's time. I will revisit that. Maybe the number will change. Maybe the number may go down to 4, perhaps. Yeah. But it's a very, very Timely question you are asking, Vidiji. And you are right. Kakashi says, sucks India align with imperialists, but what to do? Well, when you are weak, you have no choice. When you are weak, you have to make pragmatic, practical choices. The best choice you can make given the circumstances and given the options that you have. It sucks. It sucks. Ideally, we would like to be completely neutral and not aligned with anybody. But when you are in a position of weakness, this is what happens to you. The biggest sin in geopolitics is weakness. Aries Manticore says, and it's because of people like you, this generation will not sleep upon our history, nor will my children either. The government of India will change slowly in a most infuriating manner, but it will not surrender. One hopes so. And one hopes so. One hopes so. I'm pretty sure the government of India will not surrender. The change may happen very slowly, perhaps, as it tends to do in post 1947 India. Slow motion change. Yeah, but I don't think the government of India will surrender. So I agree with you there, and thank you so much for your very kind words. Thank you so much. Chirag Srinath says, do you think if Iran had played its cards better since the 90s, or at least by the early 2000s, by avoiding unnecessary regional antagonism, its situation today might have been very different? See, Iran has simply responded to the evolving situation in its region. Okay, after the end of the First Cold War, Iran slowly found itself being surrounded, being encircled by American military bases and installations and presence in its vicinity. Another thing that happened was that even during the First Cold War in the 20th century, the United States used Iraq as a stick to beat Iran with in a very bloody way, in a very damaging way. So Iran and Iran has had this enmity with the US since 1979. So Iran was very clear and very pragmatic about who its enemies were. And the US obviously surrounded and encircled Iran. So Iran also went ahead and played the geopolitical game of power projection. It cultivated allies, or what they call proxies, in its surrounding region. Which allies did it have? Let's go to the map. Okay. Which proxies or allies did Iran cultivate? Iran cultivated proxies such as the Shia population of Iraq, which is about 40-50%. It cultivated proxies in the Assad government, the Assad regime in Syria, in Lebanon, Hezbollah, the Shia population of Yemen, the Ansar Allah faction and all, and so on. So Iran said that we will not sit down and be reactive, we will be proactive. If you are encircling us, we will also cultivate proxies and create our own power projection capabilities in the region. So Iran played the game much more robustly than India typically ever does, right? And that actually possibly has helped Iran out. Iran has not tried to antagonize everybody. The antagonism it's caused by other factors. There are religious issues, Shia Sunni issues, etc. The very fact that Iran is so large and powerful, that scares nations like Saudi Arabia and other nations. So Iran has not been antagonizing, its neighbors. It's just been positioned that way, and its neighbors have been used by the US to encircle Iran. The only thing that Iran could have done better, okay, which could possibly not have caused the situation that it finds itself in, that one thing Iran could have done better is to become an openly declared nuclear weapon state. But for some reason, it did not do that, and that's why Iran finds itself in the situation. Look at North Korea. Does anybody dare touch North Korea? North Korea is not fully sovereign. It's completely dependent on, firstly, China, and secondly, Russia, for a whole lot of things. But nobody is going to dare to invade North Korea, because North Korea has nuclear weapons and the means to deliver those nuclear weapons far, far away. That's why nobody messes with North Korea. If Iran had done that, it would not find itself in the situation it finds itself in right now. That's one thing it could have done differently. Harshul Singla says, our ties with Iran were purely transactional. Khamenei never condemned terror attacks on India. He opposed the CAA. He called the Delhi riots a Muslim massacre. He repeatedly urged support for the so-called Kashmiri Muslim struggle. Yes, yes, about Khamenei, I agree. Khamenei's words, verbal statements, you could construe a lot of those statements as being anti-India. A lot of those verbal statements. But did Iran take any actual actions that hurt India? Verbally, Khamenei on multiple occasions supported the so-called Kashmiri Muslim struggle and whatever else you're saying. These were all words. Please, my dear friends, understand the difference between words and actions. Words are meaningless. Always ignore words. Always focus solely on actions. Did Iran take any actions that in any way whatsoever hurt India? Iran allowed India to use certain terminals on the Chabahar port in order to support Afghanistan, the people of Afghanistan. India and Iran worked together to ensure that Armenia does not get wiped out by Turkey and Azerbaijan. India supplied Armenia with weapons, weapon systems, radars, and so many other things. All that was transited through Iran. Iran worked together on this. There's a lot of things India and Iran have done together, which has been mutually beneficial. Verbally, Iran has done certain things that Indians will find upsetting, and that's true. I have myself said this, that Khamenei has in the past meddled in Kashmir verbally. But has Iran ever supplied arms, ammunition, money to terrorists who are fighting for whatever in Kashmir? Iran has never done that. The Americans have done that. The Pakistanis have done that. Iran has never done that. So please, my point is, I don't disagree at all with you about what you're saying. Khamenei said a bunch of things, but he never did a single thing that hurt India. That is the difference. Now, why did Khamenei say so and so, so and so? Because of his own constituency, his own audience. Also, perhaps to support the Shia population of Kashmir, which was being looked upon, which is a minority population in Kashmir, who were being portrayed as collaborators against the so-called struggle of the Kashmiris with India. So, for a variety of reasons, certain things are done and said. But Iran has never done something that hurts India. Please also understand that. Okay? One question is about Kulbhushan Yadav. It looks like there was some Iranian involvement in what happened with Kulbhushan Yadav. I'm not 100% sure about that also. He seems to have been kidnapped by Pakistanis from Iranian territory. Was there an explicit Iranian angle in that or not? We're not very sure. But overall, Iran did nothing substantial or nothing significant or nothing actually that I can think of that actually hurt India. Words are words. Actions are what matter. Please understand that. 2 kilowatts photography says, my Bua lives near the US naval base in Bahrain. It's very stressful for us. The civilian apartment hit was hardly a kilometer from her house. Hope the war ends soon. Yeah, I hope it ends soon. I hope that there's no more damage to civilian infrastructure. I hope that nobody gets hurt. No civilians get hurt. War is terrible for civilians, right? It's the civilians who suffer. It's terrible. It's horrible for civilians. So I hope that your Bua remains safe. I'm sorry to hear that she is in this situation currently. But yeah, the thing is that Iran is targeting every nation that hosts US military installations in personnel. That's the logic. It's a very clear military logic. And unfortunately, this can cause damage to civilian infrastructure and perhaps hurt civilians. So I hope it doesn't happen. I hope the war ends soon. I completely agree with you. I hope so. Hani Sharma says, on the verge of the Third World War, but at least we are in the semi-finals. That's why I did not do a live stream yesterday, because I was pretty sure everybody will want to watch the India-West Indies match. Because in India, cricket is at the forefront of everything. Yeah, I hope it's not the verge of World War III. World War III, we may be on the verge of World War III if Russia gets involved. China will not get involved. They're too scared, but Russia. But yes, at least we're in the semi-finals. Sen says, now that Pakistani leaders have openly condemned the US government, what are your thoughts on the future of Pakistan US relations? Can it be advantageous to us? So let me once again remind you all that words have no meaning. Only actions are meaningful. Pakistan will not take any action, it will not raise one finger in a way that will damage US interests or hurt US interests. A few words, what does it mean? It means nothing. Words are, these are throwaway words. Okay, the words are meaningless. The Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shahbaz Sharif, what did he say? Let's once again revisit his tweet. Let's see. Okay, let's see. So, Pakistan is a US vassal. Okay, understand that. So now here's the tweet. The government and people of Pakistan join the people of Iran in their hour of grief and sorrow and extend the most sincere condolences on the martyrdom of His Eminence Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. Pakistan also expresses concern about the violation of the norms of international law. It's an age-old convention that the heads of states and government should not be targeted, that sort of thing. So it's an implicit, indirect condemnation of what the Americans and Israelis have done, right? So it's words. It's words. Words have no meaning. Pakistan will not do anything in any actual action that will in any way whatsoever be damaging to the interests of the US and Israel. Yeah, Pakistan US relations are guaranteed to be fantastic. I promise you that. I promise you that. This will not affect Pakistan US relations in any way whatsoever. Hani Sharma says, you just tweeted that there are 6, not 5 sovereign nations. What prompted you to make that change? And is India still sovereign? Why is everyone copying you on X? Why the US is not flattening the whole of Iran as we know they can? Okay, multiple questions. But once again, what did I tweet? Once again, let's go there. So like I said a few minutes earlier, this is what I tweeted. Okay. So yeah, this is my tweet. This is something you all are very familiar with for a very long time. I've been speaking about this for years. My sovereignty framework, there are only 6. So it used to be 5, right? Initially it was 4, then I revised it to 5, and now today I have said it is 6. Because this is an evolving situation. The world evolves, and based on the evolution of the world and how things change, this has to be changed. So right now, there are 6 sovereign nations on earth: the US, Russia, China, India, Israel, and Iran, right? Every other nation exists either as a sovereign, semi-sovereign state or as a geopolitical vassal. That is what I stated today. And I've given my explanation of why I have added Iran to the list. Iran is fighting for survival without Chinese or Russian support. It's fighting on its own. It's fighting for its survival. It's fighting for its sovereignty. And that's why, because of what's happening right now, you have to add Iran to the list. Iran is acting and fighting as a genuinely sovereign nation without anyone's substantial assistance. That's why I have added Iran to it. Is India still sovereign? I will revisit this in a month or so. Maybe this list will change in a month. Okay. Maybe the number may come down to 4, possibly. We'll see about that. Right now, I'm keeping it at 6. Right now, I'm not revisiting India's status as a sovereign nation. In a month or so, I will revisit that. It may change. Why is the US not flattening the whole of Iran? Because even superpowers don't do such certain things until they are desperate. Because then even their allies will have no option but to condemn them. If they flatten the whole of Iran, it's going to cause millions of deaths. Even their allies, even the NATO nations, even the EU nations, even the UK, even Japan, even their vassals will have to condemn that. That's why they're not doing that. They want to achieve their military and political objectives with as little effort and as little damage as possible. That's the reason why. Kakashi says, are the GCC nations vassals? If so, more than Japan, Korea, or less? Why some vassals are kept poor, like Pakistan and Nigeria, but UAE and South Korea are rich, albeit corporate socialist hellscapes? So yeah, vassalhood also has degrees of vassalhood. Okay, some nations are like 100% vassals, some nations are like 33% vassals. So if you look at France, for example, I would say it is a quasi-sovereign nation, maybe 70% sovereign, but the 30% is a problem. It's a huge problem. So there are degrees of vassalhood, okay? The Gulf Cooperation Council nations are the vassals. Well, you have American bases on their territory, right? And they can't do a thing that goes against American interests or diktats. That makes them vassals. Uh, are the GCC nations more vassalized than, for example, Japan or Korea? No, they're less vassalized because Japan and Korea are under permanent, full-scale military occupation. There's more than 130 American military bases on Japanese territory, permanent US military bases. On Korea, must be around at least 100. South Korea. GCC, each nation may have 2, 3 maybe, or maybe just one. So definitely the degree of vassalization is less, but they're still vassals. You understand? So yeah, you can do a very granular study of this, a granular analysis of this, and you will find that the degree of vassalization is different for each nation. Why are some vassals kept poor and some kept rich? Yeah, it depends on what those nations are being used for. Some nations who are vassals are used as cannon fodder. Some nations, if you keep them poor and keep them divided, it's more favorable to you. So Pakistan is just a stick to beat India with, right? The US doesn't, Pakistan's, see, it depends on the quality of the population also. Pakistan's population is not such that it can produce high quality research and technology and all. So why make the nation rich? It's a huge investment of time, effort, all that to make a nation rich. Pakistan serves American purposes exactly the way it is. Why try and elevate it? Right? In the case of Korea, South Korea, it was very different. So each nation is different, and that's why you have different, ways the US deals with them. So Nigeria is just a big source of oil. That's why it's kept vassalized. Otherwise, the US has no interest in anything about Nigeria. That's how it is. Ayers Manticore says, you have inspired me to make a video on Indian socio-genetic history. When I release it, I earnestly invite you to watch and debate it. Thank you. Certainly. I'm so glad that you are doing that. Please go ahead and make the video. Once it's out, do let me know, and I shall certainly watch it and possibly debate it. All right. Sagar Sawant say, okay, Sagar Sawant, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed. Ayers Manticore says, I think they want to partition Iran, East Iran and West Iran, a more dangerous and volatile history. Ironically, the government of India will pivot back to Russian oil. The government of India is currently in the process of pivoting very rapidly to Russian oil. Right? That's happening right now. Indian refineries are going back to purchasing Russian oil. Now, when it comes to Iran, that's a very interesting point to raise, and I spoke about this a few minutes ago. My point is they don't want to partition Iran into East and West. They want to ideally balkanize Iran into multiple pieces. Okay, so let me illustrate my point by looking at this. Okay, let's see. Major ethnic groups in Iran. So when you balkanize a country, you do it based on ethnicity, based on ethnic groups. Let's take this for example. You see, there are a bunch of ethnic groups in Iran: the Balochi, the Arabs, the Lurs, the Kurds, the Turks, and the Persians. So balkanization is done along these ethnic and linguistic lines. Okay, so the Americans ideally, they will never state it openly, but they actually probably have this as the end goal: the balkanization of Iran, break Iran. That was a Freudian slip, was it? Break Iran into multiple countries, multiple independent countries who may fight each other, but the Americans will deal with each of these countries individually. And some of these regions are big oil producers, and those will be the ones that the Americans are genuinely interested in. The objective is to balkanize Iran. And for that, you don't have to put boots on the ground, possibly. If you can create sufficient chaos in the country disintegrates, especially if it is multiple ethnic groups with histories of their own. In that case, all you have to do is completely destroy the country, in the sense that destroy the government, sow chaos in the country, like high degree of chaos, and then the country just fragments. That is a very viable potentially viable, potential end goal for the US in this military operation. Dheeraj Kamath says, I was born in Bahrain and I lived in Bahrain. My family still lives there. They have no way to leave because all the nearby airports are closed right now, and I also cannot go there. Can Iran target civilians? Iran will most likely not target civilians. Most likely they will not. At least in these GCC countries, they may target civilians. Perhaps, I'm saying perhaps, in Israel. Perhaps. They've gone after several hotels, right? In some of these countries. Those hotels allegedly were housing American troops or American officials or personnel. So that's possibly the military justification for targeting hotels. But I don't think Iran will go after civilian centers or civilian populations. It makes no sense from a military perspective. Iran also will have a finite number of drones and missiles, and they will not want to waste those drones and missiles on non-military targets and non-strategic targets. So from a purely logical perspective, it makes no sense to target civilians when you're fighting for your survival. So I am pretty optimistic that Iran will not go after civilians. So yeah, so I'm sorry that the situation exists and your family is they cannot leave the country right now. All the airports, etc., are closed. Obviously, they are closed. Let's take but I hope things get better, right? Let's take a look at what is the airspace situation. We will go to give me a second. Let me see the airspace situation over West Asia right now. We're looking at India. Let's zoom out. Let's zoom out. What is happening? So as you can see, there's no aircraft flying over Iran. There are no aircraft flying over Iraq either. Nothing over Iran, nothing over Iraq, nothing over Syria, nothing over Jordan, nothing over Israel also right now. So it looks like all the Israeli airports are mostly closed. What is this thing doing here? This aircraft, where did it come from? From Lebanon, okay, from Beirut. What about this aircraft? Belgrade to Tel Aviv. Well, they are pretty brave. It's not a civilian aircraft. Maybe some kind of other type of aircraft, which is definitely very interesting. It's a cargo aircraft of some kind. It's coming from Belgrade. That's also really interesting. Okay, so that is Belgrade to Tel Aviv. What is this aircraft doing here? Where did it come from? From Amman. Okay, so there's one aircraft that took off from Amman going to Istanbul. There are aircraft flying over the Arabian Peninsula. There are aircraft flying over, well, Dammam. So are these civilian aircraft? What kind of aircraft are these? This is definitely a civilian aircraft. Qatar, nothing's happening. There are drones and whatnot flying over Qatar, but nothing else. Abu Dhabi, Dubai are closed. Sharjah is closed. Oman is fine. So yeah, that's the situation right now, and that makes sense. Right now, nobody will want to fly over these regions. Everyone's staying away. You have aircraft flying over Armenia, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan. Right? This is an interesting whatever. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. This obviously is St. Petersburg. Okay, so let's not. I could do this all day, but the point is, yeah, there's this airspace closure situation right now. Yeah. MK says, are we choosing vasalhood through Israel as Rajnath Singh prayed at the Wailing Wall? Modi's visit to Israel right before the war, Israel, UAE, India partnership. We have taken a side. We have chosen a side in this war. When it comes to vasalhood, it's more if India does become a vassal, I will reanalyze this in a month's time. After this war is over, hopefully soon, I will reanalyze India's situation and position. And if India is found by me to actually now be a vassal of some country, it will not be Israel, it will be the US. Praying at Wailing Wall and all, those are symbolic gestures. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. See, Hindus can pray to any god. Hindus are by nature a very respectful people. Wherever they go, they will pray. So if the defense minister prayed at the Wailing Wall, it doesn't necessarily mean that we are a vassal. Mr. Modi visited Israel right before the war. That is an interesting development. That's a very interesting development. But so I will reanalyze the situation from India's perspective once this war is over. Right now, I am categorizing India as a fully sovereign nation as of now. NJ says, could India take advantage of a weakened Iran and demand greater autonomy or a military base in Chabahar or maneuver for other advantages? India will be well advised to stay out of all such things, stay out of it completely. India should not ask for a military base in Chabahar or whatsoever. Let the war first end. Iran is not weakened. Iran is fighting off multiple nations at the same time. Don't take Iran lightly. Once the war ends, we can see what situation Iran is in. But look, military base in Chabahar. What about the intervening region, which is Pakistan, temporarily? So, no, India should not do any of these things. It is not advisable at all. Sagar Sawant says, for effective regime change, a ground invasion is required. Absolutely. Which Trump may not have support by his own people. So what can be the effective conclusion? The effective conclusion is that the US wants to very badly weaken and damage Iran and create enough chaos in Iran for Iran to disintegrate and become Balkanized. And then over time, the parts of Iran which are rich in oil and gas, those the Americans would like to take over directly or indirectly. Not directly, but indirectly. For example, a great example is Syria. The Americans caused the civil war in Syria for more than 10 years. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, these are all American proxies. Eventually, Syria was so badly destabilized that eventually ISIS was able to succeed. And the Americans then recognized that ISIS terrorist as the president of Syria. And now they're doing business with him. So the Americans would like to do something similar with Iran, most likely. Balkanize Iran, fragment Iran, and then deal with each of these fragments individually. That is my conclusion. Aries Manticore says, I understand your frustration with the government of India, but their collective stubborn behavior has surprised everyone and US, hopefully us Indians too. Yeah, I mean, my frustration is more of a frustration with the US, with the government of India not reforming the institutions and doing the reforms which take long time to implement. And from my perspective, this process should have started like 12 years ago. Even now, nothing is being done. So that is what frustrates me. Yeah. Yeah, and hopefully if the people understand that this is required, that these steps and measures are necessary, and if we can all voice our opinion and hopefully then put some kind of well, if you want to call it pressure, then pressure on the government that your voters want these things, then maybe they'll do it. XZP has become a new member. Thank you very much, sir or ma'am, and welcome to the channel's membership. Thank you. Vijay Viki says, if war goes on for a long time, can propping up proxies weaken Iran? That's definitely a legitimate tool in a regime change toolbox. Propping up proxies. If Iran is destabilized, you could have Al-Qaeda or ISIS terrorists enter Iran from the northwest of Iran and start creating havoc, right? And then take over some parts of the country and become a proxy of US or Israel or whatever. That sort of thing can certainly happen. And that will definitely weaken Iran if this sort of thing successfully is implemented. Right? Tres Comas Mindset says, is it possible that India picked a side this early because it plans to export weapons like air defense or BrahMos after a successful Operation Sindoor? What are my thoughts? No thoughts. India has picked a side early because it had no choice. India is not doing this because we have plans to export things. For India also, it's a matter of survival. For India also, it is a matter of survival. Okay? That's what it is. Yeah. Iran is fighting for its survival in one way, through military means. India is fighting for its survival in a bunch of other ways. And that's why India has picked the side. It's nothing to do with exports of weapons or Operation Sindoor or whatever. Not the case. Adi Pradhan says, Superbase and Firebase have been stopped. Derouting started. Really? Fascinating. Let's see. Superbase. Is it not available in India? I see that it's available. I suppose you could sign in or start your project or whatever. Looks like it's available in India, but I have not tried to use it, so I don't know. What about Firebase? So the URLs aren't blocked at least. Get started, get $300 to unlock all Firebase features. Firebase and generative AI. Well, looks like it's still there, but I'm not sure. Um, Sign in or whatever. So I don't know. I was not aware of any issues with Superbase or Firebase. Derouting started. I'm not sure. Can't say. Can't say. I'm not aware. I'll have to look into that. Look into that. Bipul Singh says, "Do you think Trump miscalculated as regime change seems unlikely?" It's possible that the ultimate objective of the US is not to uh, see whoever. Many people are saying that, rightfully saying, correctly saying, like I've also said, that regime change is impossible without boots on the ground. Impossible. But what's possible is the balkanization of Iran. Weaken Iran enough and create enough chaos in the country just fragments. Maybe that is the actual objective, the balkanization of Iran. So if that's the objective, then the thing hasn't been a miscalculation thus far. Obviously, I'm pretty certain the Americans and Israelis are kind of surprised by the Iranian response thus far. Right? It's been a very robust response, and they've come up with innovations that have definitely taken the world by surprise. I mean, those fragmentation clusters, or um, those hypersonic missiles. They are deploying a bunch of decoys, 25 decoys or so, that all mimic the characteristics of missiles, and that's why the interceptors are not working properly. And once the cluster of decoys is deployed, the warhead suddenly acquires the warhead, or the vehicle associated with the warhead, suddenly acquires hypersonic velocity. So many innovations you're seeing right now that Iran has come up with, and that's definitely surprising. So there could be some element of miscalculation for sure. There's an element of being caught by surprise also, possibly, the US and Israel. And both nations said that they are after regime change. Yeah, so General Subutai says, Iran being the most sanctioned yet producing world class drones. What is stopping India? I have no idea what is stopping India. This war makes US calculated defeat is possible or for India, or is complicated. So why? Okay, first of all, the question is, what is stopping India? I have no idea what's stopping India. India just has mediocre standards. The government of India and everything else, the whole system is geared for mediocrity. The people of India, they are excellent people. I mean, look at the people who are running the tech sector and other sectors in the US. The best people are Indians. So there's nothing wrong with Indians. Indians are some of the most brilliant people on the surface of the planet. The problem is the system, the government, the institutions, and the education system and everything. It is geared for mediocrity. It is geared for the lowest of standards. Every generation, the standards are lowered. That's an issue in India. The procurement processes, the bureaucratic delays, the red tape, this, that, everything ensures that everything happens at a glacial pace, slow pace. And look at the salaries that engineers get if you are in a government organization like DRDO or ISRO or whatever. I mean, who's going to be motivated to work? So these are the problems in India. Very frustrating. That's what's stopping India. India's system is stopping India. This war makes US calculated defeat is possible for India. I'm not sure what you're asking there, sir. Not sure about that, but hopefully I've answered your first question. Mihir says, I live in the US, and Iran employing a scorched earth strategy has Israelis geeked out here. They think that nukes might be used. Also, was India right in pulling out of Iran Chabahar port given the situation? Let me answer the second part first. Was India right in pulling out of Iran Chabahar port given the situation? India pulled out of Chabahar a few weeks before this went down, right? Let's quickly fact check that. When did India pull out of Chabahar? Scaling back, not complete. This India had already transferred its full committed amount of 120 million to Iran by late 2025, fulfilling its obligation. So essentially, India pulled out by late 2025. Okay, that's the deal. All the other stuff is doesn't matter. India liquidated its stake in Chabahar. India liquidated its stake in Chabahar in late 2025 by paying $120 million to Iran. So that's when India pulled out. That is late 2025. So let's say it happened in December, January, February. So it's like almost 3 months before the war happened, right? Why did India do this? Because the Americans were reimposing sanctions. That's one excuse. That's one explanation. Another explanation is that India would have perhaps had some inkling of what was going to happen. So was India right in doing this? I suppose it was right. India had no choice. If India doesn't pull out, then it gets sanctioned, and whatever stake it has gets destroyed with American or Israeli airstrikes. So I suppose India had no choice. Weak nations don't have too many choice, right? Now, Iran employing a scorched earth strategy has Israelis geeked out. They think that nukes might be used. I think nukes, from Iran's perspective, are a matter of last resort. We don't even know if the Iranians have nukes. I am pretty certain that Iran has sufficient fissile material to quickly, produce a bunch of nukes, maybe 5-10 nukes. Tactical yield warheads. I'm pretty sure they have that much fissile material, highly enriched uranium. I'm pretty sure they have it. Until now, they did not ever announce that they did not ever test a nuclear weapon. But I'm sure they can put one together quickly. It's not that difficult from an engineering perspective, right? But Iran won't do this unless it's a do or die thing, unless they have nothing left to lose anymore. So I don't think Iran will use nukes. In case you're saying Israel may use nukes or the US may use nukes, but that is slightly higher on the scale of possibilities, depending on how things go in, let's say, a week's time or so. If Iran is still fighting away, is still fighting, and if they are causing significant damage, especially on Israel, then such things may be thought of by the Americans and the Israelis, because Israel does have a decent number of warheads, and the US, obviously, we know, right? Yeah, okay. Vishal Roar says India took a side here, but remains overall neutral. No, India is not neutral. Okay, you're giving proof. Deep France tries 150 plus Rafale 6th generation talks. That's talks. Russia deals. ANI posted 5 minutes ago about 5 new S-400 squadrons and talks. See, talk, I don't give a damn about talks. Until a deal is signed and things get operational, I don't care. Talk is fine. Talk. Let's see. ANI Twitter. Let's see what ANI Twitter has to say. No, let's not. One second. I actually have an actual thing going. Okay. Let us go to the actual Twitter homepage. Okay. And let's see ANI. Do we have ANI? Khamenei? No. ANI. ANI. What does ANI have to say? Let's see. 5 minutes ago, you say? Let's see. Must be earlier. You're saying that ANI posted 5 minutes ago about S-400s. It'll definitely be more than 5 minutes ago. What about S-400? Latest. Let's see. Is it S-400? No. Okay, I'm not sure about that. What's going on? I'll not waste your time by digging for all that. France, listen, India took a side here but remains overall neutral. India is not neutral. India is multi-aligned. India's policy has been that of multi-alignment, not neutrality. When you have deep ties with France, we are aligned with France in a number of ways. When we are doing things with Russia, we align with Russia also. This is called multi-alignment. It is not called neutrality. Multi-alignment is very, very different from neutrality. But in this war, what side has India taken? It's not a neutral side. India is clearly sided with Israel in the US. So it is not neutrality. Fast Snail says, it's the first time in 47 years the US and Israel are trying regime change in Tehran. If yes, is it too little too late? Also, am I the only one thinking that Israel is using the West? So yes, for the first time in 47, the Americans and Israelis are attempting a regime change in Tehran. Is it too little too late? Nothing is too little too late. If they succeed here, they get what they want. So, and it's not like they've lost a lot because they've waited this long. It's not the case. So it's not too little too late. If they succeed now, it's going to be a big success, big victory for them. Whether it is a regime change or balkanization, both will be big victories for the US and Israel. Is Israel using the West, or is the West using Israel? That's always a big question. I'm not sure. Kushagra Singh says, is there any opportunity for India in this? No. There's no opportunity for India in this. Sagar Ghare says, by Amisha, can anyone ask how China defense system failed in Iran? Did Iran have Chinese radars or whatever? Chinese defense systems? I'm not sure. I've not looked into that angle. Let's see. Does Iran operate Chinese radars? Let's see. China has deployed the YLC, etc., to detect. So, okay. So it has some Chinese radars, Chinese military equipment. Let's see. Air defense assets and so on. Chinese systems, HQ-16, HQ-17AE. What are these two things? Let's find out. HQ-16, HQ-17AE. Are these radars? Okay, surface-to-air missile systems and so on. So it doesn't look like Iran uses a lot of Chinese systems. The Chinese system we saw was a radar that kind of detects stealth aircraft. So has it failed? Has it not failed? I'm not 100% sure. Looks like it may not have worked perfectly or whatever. I'm not sure. I've not looked into it in detail. It looks like there are some systems that the Iranians are using. So possibly some of them may not have successfully done their job. Abhishek Srivastav says, India always chose Israel over Iran. It's not a big deal. Okay, so thank you very much. M. Keshav says, 15, if India becomes US vassal, God forbid, would it be more kind of a Pakistan kind or Japan kind with respect to daily life, development, etc.? It will not be a Pakistan kind of vassalhood. It will not be a Japan kind of vassalhood. It will be an India kind of vassalhood. So what will happen if India becomes the US vassal? India will become a huge market that the Americans will export to and make money as a consequence. That will be one thing. Second thing, the government of India will essentially be run by the American AIs and everything. So, which means that the US gets complete granular micromanagement support, micro-managerial level control over everything India does. Daily life will go on as it is. Most people will never know that things have changed completely. Development, it will go on in the same way it's happening right now. The Americans don't want India to become a $15-20 trillion economy. They want India to remain a $4-5 trillion economy. So India's GDP will keep growing at 5%, 6% per year. Nothing will change majorly. There'll be no major reforms. India will remain a mediocre nation and so on. So that is the kind of vassalhood you will have. For the ordinary person, they will never possibly even realize that you are a vassal of another country. Nothing will actually change on the surface. Aries Manticore says, the cards have been stacked against us the past 2,000 years, past 1,000 years actually. But we survived. The cards were stacked in the past 15 years, but we have clawed to this state. We will endure in a manner most absurd. We have a 10,000 plus year old history. And so if something goes wrong for a few years, it doesn't matter. We will eventually, long term, hopefully prevail and get stronger. So let us be positive, optimistic. Let's not be all gloom and doom. Even if we become a vassal state for a few years, we'll find a way out. So let's be positive. Vijay Vicky says, one of Indian crony recently met Hillary Clinton. Her foundation was responsible for the propping up of Mohammed Yunus. What are your thoughts? Indian crony. I'm not sure who this Indian crony is. Are you talking about some kind of business person or whatever. I'm not sure who you're talking about, but look, let's say you're a business person. Let's say you are an industrialist or whatever. It makes sense to be connected with various very powerful people. Uh, Hillary Clinton is a very powerful person and very relevant person even today. So, yeah, it makes sense. And as long as you're not breaking India's laws or whatever, as long as the government of India is not opposed to it, you'll do it. You'll do it. So that those are my thoughts. Oh, whoever it is, I don't know who it is. Okay. Black Panther says, will join NATO in this war. UK and France base attack. I'm not sure if any UK or France. Okay. Has Iran targeted any UK or French military installations or bases? Yeah, I'm not getting anything. News. European Akrotiri. Okay. Cyprus. That's interesting. British base in Cyprus. I'm not sure about French bases or whatever. I don't think NATO will join the war. I don't think so. It is unlikely at this stage, at least. Yeah. At this stage, it is unlikely. Tarun says, any game plan for India to come out of these situations of vasalhood? There must be a way. I feel bad to work in IT at the cost of the country's sovereignty. Don't blame yourself. If you're working in IT, you are actually contributing to India's GDP. So you don't need to, there's no reason for you to feel bad personally. Any game plan for India to come out of this situation of vasalhood? Well, that's for the government to do. And if there is a genuine game plan that can help India, I better not speak about it over here, don't you think? Yeah. I should not discuss it over here openly in case there's a game plan. There must be a way. Pratardana says, I was referring to Nupur Sharma fiasco in Divine Justice. Arabs provoked riots and killings, especially Qatar. Okay. Nupur Sharma thing. Okay, that's a matter of Indian politics, internal politics, something that I never discuss. So, okay. I don't discuss Indian politics, as you know. Ares Manticore says, will Iran be forced to use the dirty bomb strategy? I hope not. I hope not. What's a dirty bomb? For those who may not know, a dirty bomb is a bomb that has a conventional chemical explosive like your standard bombs, but it also has nuclear material. So when the bomb explodes, the nuclear material is dispersed and causes radiation fallout over a wide area. That's a dirty bomb. So that is something Iran definitely has plenty of fissile material, which may not perhaps be weapons grade, but it's definitely uranium, right? 235 possibly. I don't know about plutonium, but 235 they will probably have. So that can be used for a dirty bomb. I hope Iran doesn't have to use it. And I hope that, well, that's a very nasty thing to do actually. But yeah, when you're desperate, some people may do it. So I hope it doesn't happen. Parth Srivastav says, any message for Ayatollah lovers crying in India? I have no such messages. No comments. Dorji T says, you're my first geopolitics tutor. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your very kind words. And thank you so much. M. Keshav says, please explain terms vassal, protectorate, ally, and trustee. I don't know what trustees are. That's not a geopolitical term as far as I know. I don't use that. Ally means you have a treaty, a clearly defined treaty which you've signed, which lays out the rules and responsibilities. Protectorate means you're a weak nation protected by a more powerful nation, which is like a vassal. A vassal, which can be a vassal, but not necessarily always. A vassal is a nation that is weak, that is controlled by a more powerful nation. So this is a weak nation who is controlled by a more powerful nation and exploited by a more powerful nation in certain ways, or a variety of ways, or all ways. That's a vassal. In escape escape something. Yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you very much, sir. You have got 5 questions. First, since the Ayatollah is dead, what is your reaction, first of all? Tragic, and well, highly unusual for a world leader to be assassinated. Definitely is a blatant and flagrant violation of international law. Yeah, that's my reaction. Second, okay, do you think first, is it a boon for the world since he is dead now? No. What were his views on India and your views on the Ayatollah? Look, my views on the Ayatollah, I have no views about his religious thing or whatever. His views on India were, well, he expressed certain views about India. He kind of, at certain times, supported the Kashmir freedom thing or whatever, the alleged Kashmir thing, and so on. But overall, his actions towards India were never hurtful towards India. Words and actions are very different things. My point is, ignore the words and look at the actions. Under his leadership, Iran never took any actions that were hurtful towards India. His views on India, his words that he sometimes spoke may have been annoying for a lot of Indians, obviously, but his actions were never anti-India. Next, do you think an attack on the EU or Turkey is imminent, even though Turkey, as far as I understand, it is somewhere in the middle regarding Iran? Turkey hosts American nuclear weapons. Turkey hosts American military bases, American personnel. Turkey may have said some nice words and sent condolences about Iran, but overall they are on America's side. Turkey is not in the middle. Turkey is not in the middle. Turkey is squarely in America's side. So, is an attack on the EU or Turkey imminent? I think it is not imminent. Unless American planes take off from Turkey to attack Iran or something, in that case, something could happen. So EU is probably not imminent. Turkey also most likely not imminent right now. Mahesh Kannan says, why Iran has not attacked Turkey and Pakistan? There are reports that Netanyahu's office was hit by Iran. Even I heard that Netanyahu's office was targeted by Iran. Let's see. Netanyahu office. Let's see. Did we hear? Netanyahu's office targeted in surprise attacks. And there's some fact checking and so on and so forth. So they're saying that Iran has claimed this, but they're not saying that it's actually happened. So yeah, Netanyahu's office apparently was targeted by Iran. That's what the Iranians are claiming. Why has Iran not attacked Turkey and Pakistan? See, first of all, Turkey is very far away. And Turkey is probably not directly involved in this war, in the sense that I don't think there are American aircraft taking off from Turkey to attack Iran. So that's why Turkey thus far has not been attacked. Pakistan, maybe Iran doesn't want to fight too many nations at the same time. Pakistan is a very powerful military, not compared to India, but compared to Iran, maybe head to head possibly. Yeah. Of course, Pakistan is currently facing a war with Afghanistan. So yeah, right now, Iran will not open a military front with Pakistan right now. They know that Pakistani airspace is being used by Americans. They know that. They know that Pakistan is actually an enemy of Iran. They know that too. But right now, it doesn't make sense to fight three major powers at the same time. Israel, US, and Pakistan. Why am I saying Pakistan is a major power? Because regionally, it's a major power. Israel is also regionally a major power. And the US is a global superpower, but regionally, it's got this massive military force that it has piled up in this region. So the US is a major power here. Then Pakistan, its territory is right there. So because of proximity, Pakistan becomes a major power. So it doesn't make sense for Iran to fight everybody at the same time. That's the mistake that Adolf Hitler made. He tried to fight everybody at the same time, and that led to Germany's destruction eventually. So it doesn't make sense for Iran to start a fight with everybody at the same time. Makes no sense. Aries Manticore says, can a balkanized Iran go nuclear in a North Korea fashion? But it allows US to take part of its territory for pragmatic regime survival strategy. Yeah, it can happen. So let's say Iran loses half of its territory, gets balkanized. The non-Persian territories become, separate entities. Iran could still survive in a broken down form, in a reduced form, and it could at that time also possibly go nuclear. It's possible. Yeah, it's also a possibility. M. Keshav says, would the world be a better place if Bretton Woods had never been scrapped in 71? How would India fare? Had 1857 resulted in an Indian victory, how different would the geopolitical landscape be today? Look, it's all ifs and buts. You can paint all kinds of scenarios. If 87 in 1857, if he had won, we may have become a great superpower. We may have become a great cultural nation. Who knows? A first world country. All kinds of possibilities exist. But I can tell you for sure, if 1857 we had won, then India would be in a much better shape today. India would not be this weird, secularized, stupid nation. India would be a much greater nation. India would still be a proper, full-fledged civilization state, which it is not today. And geopolitically, obviously, the world would be different in that case. If Bretton Woods had not been scrapped in 71, how would India fare? But also, once again, there are like 500 different possibilities open out there. I don't know. Even if Bretton Woods had not been scrapped, the global system would still have been controlled by the US. So I don't think India would fare very differently in that case, at least, possibly. Prataradana says, Iran war show US won't be able to defeat China. The sheer number of stealth jets, hypersonics, stealth drones, nukes, US bases will be gone in minutes. I actually disagree. There's 130 plus US bases in Japan, more than 100 American bases in Korea. That's 230 at least. Then there is Taiwan, which is a fortress island. Then there is Guam. The US has way more force deployed around China than what they've deployed against Iran right now. I think the US will devastate China. China's stealth jets and all, okay, it's nice on paper, but have they been ever tested in a war? If the US and China go to war, the US will devastate China. That's why China is so careful. So careful. Yeah. And see, China doesn't have the risk appetite that Iran has. It's a very different nation, China. They don't have any appetite for risk. Iran has a totally different appetite for risk. Right now they're fighting this war which could end in their complete destruction. But they are determined to go down fighting if required. But they will not surrender. That's a different mindset. China doesn't have this mindset. It's a very different mindset. So I think if there's a war between the US and China, the US will devastate China. Tejas Naik says, you have become my role model in a short time. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much indeed. I also want to become secure, confident, and knowledgeable like you. I hope you do. Work on yourself. Work on improving yourself. Work on becoming more skilled. Right? And work on raising your standards slowly, gradually. Everybody does. That way you become more confident. You become more secure. Right? So all the best, sir. I'm very grateful to you for your very kind words. Now the question is the US and Israel attack proactive, or did they not have any choice but to attack? They had the choice to not attack. They decided to attack. This was very proactive. Okay? Many people could argue that there was no need for them to attack. There was no need to go after Iran. Many people could argue that way also. So this was a decision that was made, and then the attack happened. It's very proactive. Soylent. Blue, yellow, green. Soylent says, is Pakistan-Afghanistan attack a US-Russia power move? P-balance. Is it the US-Russia power move? No. We know that the Americans want Bagram. And maybe the Pakistanis provoked Afghanistan by launching airstrikes on civilians to destabilize Afghanistan, and possibly eventually the situation ends with America taking Bagram again. That's a far-fetched but plausible possibility. So one should take that possibility seriously. But overall, there are very legitimate grievances that the Afghans have with respect to Pakistan. And I'm not sure how involved Russia is in this matter. So you would probably be correct to see this as a regional issue. Two nations hating each other. The Pakistanis, we know they hate the Afghans. The Afghans, they hate back the Pakistanis even more. And the Pakistanis are squatting on Afghan territory. So, and the Pakistanis, they have this sense of superiority that we can strike you at will. We can kill your civilians. So that's what happened. So it's not really a US-Russia power move. At least if you see it superficially, I suppose. Gautam says, isn't it good for the rest of the world if the war prolongs and the US economy gets hit significantly and can't dominate other countries anymore? The longer this war continues, the more India and China and Iran and Japan will be impacted. This will not impact the US economy that much. See, right now the Strait of Hormuz has been closed. It's closed. That's because of that. There is no oil flowing from West Asia into India or China or Japan. Because of this, oil prices will shoot up, maybe $150 a barrel. If that continues, the prices of your sugar and tomatoes and potatoes and everything will shoot up. This is going to impact India badly. Also China. It won't impact the US that much. You understand? It's not good for the rest of the world. It's terrible for the rest of the world. Prathardana says, J. Mearsheimer says, Iraq war was also for Netanyahu. Okay, Iraq war. You mean the 2003 war? Okay, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, Dr. John Mearsheimer, he is a very, very senior, respected, experienced analyst. So maybe one should take what he says seriously. Maybe his predictions aren't always true, but that's fine. But the analysis definitely is valuable. So I will think about it. I'll look into it. Yeah, I'll look into it from that perspective. But I haven't thought about this matter. So Pranav says, very informative channel. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. Vipin Vihari has become a new member. Thank you very much, Vipin Ji. Welcome to the channel's membership. Thank you. Escapus Duras says, as they have nothing. Okay, this is a continuation of an earlier stream of questions. As they have nothing to lose now, I believe that they're going to extinguish their missile reserves. Iran. Oh, we'll see about that. Is the GCC concerned about their security after Iranian strikes shattered their reputation for safety? Will they pivot towards neutral power, stay with the US, or raise this privately? Privately, they'll be very upset that the Americans are not taking care of their defense. The Americans seem to be concerned only about Israel's defense. See, what was the deal between the US and the GCC nations? The deal was that the US will sell huge amounts of arms and ammunition to these countries, military equipment, billions of dollars worth. That's number one. Number two, the US will install military bases in these countries. And these nations will allow it. And in exchange for all of that, the US will guarantee their security. And if somebody attacks those nations, the US will retaliate and ensure that these nations' security is taken care of. That was the deal. That's why you have places like Dubai coming up under the US security umbrella. But now see what's happening. Iran is hitting these nations. And the Americans haven't been able to stop that. So privately, these nations will be very upset. They'll be very upset that one, the US was not able to stop this, and it's not currently being able to stop Iranian attacks. And secondly, they may also feel perhaps that the Americans are not taking this seriously enough. They'll feel perhaps the Americans are not taking these nations' defense seriously enough. So yes, the GCC will be very concerned. Very concerned. And maybe they are right to feel concerned, and maybe they are right to have this grievance against the United States. They may be right to, if they feel that the Americans are prioritizing Israel's defense more than the GCC nation's defense. They may be right in feeling that way. So will they pivot towards neutral powers, stay with the US, or raise this privately? They'll be able to pivot nowhere. Okay. They'll be able to pivot nowhere. The Americans won't allow them to pivot anywhere. Won't work. The US is too powerful. Okay. Since you began posting, I have been enlightened on countless matters. Thank you for sharing your vast knowledge. Please keep educating us. Thank you very much, sir. I certainly will. I shall keep this going. The Ask Abhijit show. Absolutely. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much. Abhishek Singh says, why Indians On X, full support US and Israel SAR. Well, that's what Indians do. I don't know why, but they do. See, I have nothing against supporting this nation, that nation, whatever, but support your nation first and have some self-respect. Yeah. But yes, Indians are enamored with certain nations. I'm not saying don't be enamored with certain nations. My point is have some dignity and self-respect. Yeah. Krishna says, is Khamenei really dead or in hideout with new identity? I don't know what new identity is, but about Khamenei's death, I don't think he's hiding somewhere. At the age of 86, why would he want to go and hide somewhere? The other thing about Khamenei's death is this. He was killed in his house, in his residence. The Americans or Israelis or whoever, one of these two, they knew where Khamenei's residence was, and they launched a strike on his residence, which killed Khamenei and some family members. So it's not like Khamenei did not know this was coming. Khamenei knew that a war is imminent, that American and Israeli strikes are imminent. And he, I am sure, had the option to go and hide somewhere in a secure location, in a bunker or whatever. But Khamenei chose to stay in his house. Now, why did he do that? It means certain death. So it means Khamenei chose to die. Why did he choose to die? One reason is that maybe he was 86 years old, he didn't care anymore. Secondly, his death unified the people of Iran. You don't do such things. You don't assassinate a head of government. Even those Iranians who may not have supported the government previously may now be outraged as by what the Americans and Israelis did. So Khamenei chose to sacrifice his life essentially to give Iran a better chance. That's what it did. Developer Kapai says, how does this conflict reach a conclusion, Iran? Well, there's lots of different scenarios in which this conflict stops. One scenario is that nobody wins, and then there's a ceasefire. One scenario is that the Americans and Israelis start running out of defensive interceptor missiles. Then they ask for a ceasefire, which would be humiliating, which means they don't ask for a ceasefire, but do something drastic, like use nukes, perhaps. I don't know. That's also a possibility. Another possibility is that Iran is defeated, and there's a regime change. Another possibility is that Iran refuses to be defeated, and it is balkanized. There are all kinds of possibilities right now. It's just day 3, right, of the conflict. So I don't know how the conflict ends right now. I am not somebody who makes predictions. Yehi hone wala hai. No, I'm not that guy. I'm saying there are multiple scenarios. The most likely scenario is the balkanization of Iran. Hopefully I'm wrong. Siddharth Suresh says, is a cornered Iran likely to resort to terrorism for revenge in the long run? Is Pakistan weakened by aggravating sour relations with other nations? Pakistan is not weakened. Pakistan has American support. With American support, you are never weakened. Is a cornered Iran likely to resort to terrorism for revenge in the long run? A cornered Iran is likely to resort to guerrilla warfare and proxy warfare in the long run, if it is cornered, if it is balkanized or whatever. Yeah, they will 100% in that case resort to guerrilla warfare and proxy warfare, which some people could call terrorism. Ojaswit Kumar says, why do you think that India is becoming a vassal? Even in 2008, the US pressurized India to not retaliate to 2611. Do you think that India can maintain military political sovereignty in US orbit? If you are in the US orbit, you have no genuine sovereignty. Why do you think India could be becoming a vassal? Well, there's a whole number of things, right? It's not one thing. It's a whole pattern that points in a certain direction. I have still not officially called India an American vassal, first of all. Okay, just for the record, here is my tweet from 2 hours ago. Just for the record, my tweet from 2 hours ago. There are 6 sovereign nations on the planet, and India is very much one of these nations. Okay, but yes, there are big concerns right now. The Americans ask us to stop buying Russian oil. We kind of stopped buying Russian oil. Now we are restarting, apparently. I'm not sure if it's true, but we did almost stop buying Russian oil for a while. The past few weeks, yeah. They asked us to move out of Chabahar. We moved out of Chabahar. Right? Pax Silica, if you see the clauses and conditions, it's kind of vassalish. Then the AI thing, the AI summit, and Google setting up its $15 billion investment in Vishakhapatnam or wherever it is. They're gonna have Indian bureaucrats and officials using Google AI software. There'll be scam detection built into it. So the Indian government will run on Google AI software, Gemini possibly, software that is developed by Google, foreign company, on Google, on foreign hardware, on foreign chips, and control from the United States. If India's government runs on Google AI software, on Google artificial intelligence, they will know exactly what's happening at every level of the government, top to bottom, in a granular manner. Do you think that's a sovereign nation's behavior? And the fact that our officials, politicians, etc., they have family members who are foreign citizens, up top to, not top, entirely top to bottom, but you get the point. If you look at all these things put together, it's pointing in a certain direction. Please open your eyes, my dear people. Also, there's more. The situation in India's Far East. Take the example of Manipur. More than half of Manipur is under foreign occupation. The government of India doesn't control what happens in more than half of Manipur. You call that sovereign behavior? There's so many data points I can point at. In case you people are not aware of it, please open your eyes and become aware. Vivek Singh says, is it a possibility that Russia made a deal with the US in exchange for Iran? Russia gets rid of sanctions and can export oil to India. Russia doesn't care about exporting oil to India, and for that, they will not make a deal with the US. Sanctions. Russia is doing well under sanctions. Russia's economy is growing. GDP is growing. Look at the GDP growth of the European nations, EU nations. Their GDP growth is negative. That's called recession. But Russia's GDP growth is positive, despite 1 million sanctions dumped upon them. When Russia is doing well, why will it make a deal with the US? The sanctions have strengthened Russia, actually. Right? So, the only reason the Russians would make a deal with the US is if they get a very favorable set of terms that end the Ukraine war, like big territorial gains, a regime change in Kiev, Netanyahu being replaced by somebody else, that sort of thing. In that case, the Russians may make a deal. Yeah, but they'll do it very carefully. They'll not just randomly make some deal. Oh, now we can export oil to Russia. We'll export it anyway. What will you do? They'll say to the Americans. The Russians don't need America's permission to export oil to some country. Okay? So no, not that case. Aries Manticore says, we will face either angry or shadow tariffs in the coming future or new purchases of Russian oil. Yep. If we resume purchases of Russian oil, we will face tariffs once again. Keir Starmer's reply on the war was pathetic. I have not really paid attention to Keir Starmer because he is a non-entity. Keir Starmer is a pathetic little non-entity. I don't pay attention to what he says, so I'm not aware. Sorry. I'm not aware. Okay. Samyaka says, your take on Aravind X accounts on strategic silence by India in this war with regards to Operation Sindoor preparation, similar decap with Pakistan. I have no idea. I don't know. I don't follow that account, and I'm not aware of what he or she has said. As he has said, it's Aravind, it's a male. I don't know what he has been saying. I don't know. Sorry. Jinil says, a news came out just an hour ago that India will be buying 5 more S-400 squadrons. Doesn't that mean that we are still far away from being a US vassal? It is very positive. and it may induce me to not put India on the vassals list. It's a positive development. It's very good. Very good. It's a positive news. If India is buying 4 more, it's 500 squadrons. Excellent. It means that we are still some distance away from being a vassal, US, full-fledged US vassal. But technologically, we are a vassal already. Understand that. Okay? Tanmay Deshpande says, a big fan since 6 years. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you so much indeed. But I have a small disagreement. I hope it doesn't make you angry. It's fine. Please disagree. It's fine. Let me consider your viewpoint so that I also understand things better, perhaps. Modi also said to Israel that about early cessation. I mean, we are neutral. But if we are not, aren't we smart? Like I keep saying, my dear friends, words don't matter. Yeah, Mr. Modi has said to Israel that there should be early cessation of war. That's a diplomatic statement. Yeah, there's some more. Okay, let's see Mr. Modi's Twitter account again. I think he has put up some more tweets in the past hour or two. Spoke with His Majesty King Abdullah II, King of Jordan, conveyed our deep concern at the evolving situation in the region. We reaffirm our support for peace, security, and the well-being of the people of Jordan. I thanked him for taking care of the Indian community in Jordan at this difficult hour. Allah, okay, I no longer can read Arabic. Lost the touch. Yeah, so that's the last statement. See, listen. Okay, where's the statement about Israel? Let's see. Okay. He conveyed India's concerns about recent developments, emphasized this, that. India reiterates the need for an early cessation of hostilities. That is essentially an empty statement. That is a statement everybody makes. That doesn't make us neutral. That is a very nice facade to perhaps look neutral. Okay? Words, please stop taking words so seriously. My dear friends, please, how many times do I have to beg you all? Stop taking words so seriously. All right? Please don't. We are neutral. We are on the side of the US and Israel. And I'm not angry with you. It's fine. You can disagree. Maybe I'm not able to explain properly enough. Maybe that's my fault. Okay, so I'm not angry. Mama Bucket VFX says Trump, Putin, Xi versus deep state asset, EU, Iran, UK, Venezuela. What is the question? Trump, Putin, and Xi are on one side, and deep state asset, EU, Iran, UK, Venezuela are on another side. I'm not sure what you're getting at. I'm not able to get it. How are the EU, Iran, UK, and Venezuela in the same basket, in the same boat? Then they're not. Keshav says, what is the long-term consequences of this war to Armenia? Say if Iran is defeated. Yeah, good question. If Iran is defeated or balkanized, Armenia essentially has a slim chance of survival, very small chance of survival. The Turks and the Azerbaijanis will eat them. So it is very important for Armenia for Armenia's survival, that Iran survives. Yeah, that's the long-term consequences for Armenia. Om Naik says, where did Khamenei actually die? Did he really refuse to move to a safer place? And why Iran was not able to develop nuclear weapons? Were they fearful? Yes, Khamenei refused to move to a safe location. He chose to remain in his residence, knowing exactly what would happen. So he chose to die. Yeah. What do they say? Martyr. He chose to die. That's the only explanation I have for him being assassinated in his own residence. Now, why was Iran not able to develop nuclear weapons? Were they fearful? Probably they were scared. I think Khamenei was against the nuclear weapons for some reason. But they're scared that they will have more sanctions. I'm not sure what it was. They've been enriching uranium hexafluoride for decades, at least a decade and a half. When did Stuxnet happen? Stuxnet was at least 15 years ago, wasn't it? The Stuxnet worm. Stuxnet, 2010. That's 16 years ago, right? Right. And you can look it up. I'll not explain what it is right now. You can look it up later. Stuxnet is a very interesting thing. So Iran has been enriching uranium hexafluoride for at least 2 decades, I would say. So after 2 decades, they would certainly have enough fissile material for a handful of warheads. Highly enriched uranium, right? They would have it. So why didn't they do it? I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense. Maybe Mr. Khamenei was against nuclear weapons because of some principle, or maybe Iran was too scared to officially become a nuclear weapon power. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's well, things would have been different if they had officially tested a nuke or two. Right Angle says, if I become prime minister, which minister should I give to you? I don't know. Maybe give me the prime ministership in that case. Okay. Nitin says, I think Iran can't be won without both on the ground. Like I said so many times, you can't do a proper regime change, an actual regime change, without boots on the ground. So the next best thing is break up Iran, fragment it. That's a viable possibility. Yeah. So yeah, you can't do a regime change without boots on the ground, but you can fragment the nation by devastating the nation and by depleting the nation's firepower and resources and causing chaos all across the place, so that there is no unified command, by decapitating the command and control structure. All of those things we do, then Iran can possibly become fragmented, can be balkanized, and that's a good outcome for the US and Israel, most likely. Right Angle says, did you check my mail few months back? I sent you swastik in your thoughts. If you have not received, I will resend it again. Thank you for everything. I haven't seen your email. And I'm sorry for that. I know many people send me emails, but I am not able to read all the emails because I get so many of those. Yeah, if I read all the emails, I'll be able to do nothing else, right? Because there are so many emails. So I really am sorry to those of you. I'm sure there are others also who have sent me emails and I've not responded or not read, perhaps. I'm sorry for that. Okay, but it's physical. It's not humanly feasible for me to read all the emails and study them and respond to them. It's not possible. So I've not seen it. If you want to know about the swastik, I have tweeted about the swastik in the past. Okay, so let's go here. I have a whole Twitter thread, very long lasting Twitter thread. About the swastik. Lots and lots and lots and lots of tweets. From 2016, by the way. About the swastika. You can look it up. So I have, I've done that. But in case you have something that you would like me to look into, do send an email again. I'll try and see it, sir. All right. And apologies for not reading it thus far. Okay. MRAC says Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, US, Israel target civilian aircraft. Civilian aircraft. The US does target civilian aircrafts when they feel like. If you don't believe me, I can show you historical evidence. It's just a fact, okay? Okay, check this out. USS Vincennes shoots down Iranian civilian plane. July 3, 1988. Okay, Iran Air Flight 655. Let's take a look at this. This is a shoot down in 1988. It was an international scheduled passenger flight from Tehran to Dubai. It was shot down on 3 July 1988 by two surface-to-air missiles fired by an American warship. All 290 people on board were killed. It happened during the Iran-Iraq war. So there was no apology from the US, and they paid some money, 61.8 million, as an ex gratia payment to the families of the victims. And the US did not admit liability for the shoot down. Okay. So that's a historical event. The Americans shot down a civilian airliner and did not apologize, did not admit liability, but paid some money. So the US did, I'm not sure if there are other instances, but they did target a civilian aircraft. Afghanistan, I don't know if they have ever targeted civilian aircraft. Iran, I don't know. Israel, I don't know. Pakistan once shot down an aircraft in which a chief minister was flying, an Indian chief, I think chief minister of Gujarat or something. So that's kind of a civilian aircraft, isn't it? It's not a military aircraft. So they did that, the Pakistanis. So you have these things, yeah. Hardik Joshi says, I feel India has become diplomatic by siding with Russia when it comes to oil and siding with the US when it comes to Israel, Iran. Doesn't that constitute best interests? Like I've said, India is taking practical decisions. India is multi-aligned. India is doing whatever it can. India is always following its national interest based on the current situation, the current circumstances, and India's capabilities, which are very low right now. It is what it is. At the beginning of this live stream, I said that India has picked a side. India has chosen a side, which is US and Israel and their allies. And India has chosen this side for practical reasons, not ideological reasons. So it's called being practical and pragmatic, right? Not being idealistic. So yeah, it does constitute our best interest, though, depending on the options that we have as of now. It does. Ritik says, will you consider Khamenei a great leader? Will I consider Khamenei a great leader? Great leaders. I consider Putin to be a great leader. Xi Jinping, I'm not sure historically if he'll go down as a great leader. There are very few people I consider to be great, like historically long duration, long horizon, great leaders. I don't think Mr. Khamenei will fall into that category. And when it comes to Mr. Putin, time will tell actually if he's truly a great leader or not. It's too early to say even now. The Mandian, thank you very much for becoming a YouTube member, sir. Thank you so much. Cosmic Cab says, Indian government bowed to US too soon. Can we blame the Indian government? No, India has not bowed to the US too soon. India has not bowed to the US too soon. India resisted as long as it could. Operation Sindoor was a resistance. In the aftermath of Operation Sindoor, when Trump kept claiming that he stopped the war, we resisted. We resisted signing a lopsided trade deal with the US. There was also resistance. We bowed down in the last few weeks only, slowly. And even now, I'm not 100% sure if we should be called a vassal state. We may be. I will revisit and reanalyze that after this Iran war is over. Okay. Sid Sehgal says, what situation do you see India getting involved? What? Getting involved in what? In the war. India is not getting involved in the war, no matter what happens. Are you referring to any other situation? I'm not sure what the question is. It's not sufficiently clear. India is not getting involved in the war, no matter what happens. The Iran war, no, we are staying out of it. Other situations, well, we are part of the world. We are involved in a million other situations. Okay. Shatabhish says, Pakistan, Venezuela, and now Iran. Chinese air defense seems to be failing big time. Typical of them to supply inferior stuff or outdated design itself. Nonetheless, our electronic warfare capability and jamming tech was top-notch too. So in Operation Sindoor, we've discovered that we have one of the world's best air defense systems. Multi-layered air defense system, right? It was outstanding, brilliant. Electronic warfare capability also, I hear that India has excellent EW capabilities. Yeah. When it comes to Chinese air defense equipment, radars, etc., performed miserably in Operation Sindoor. Venezuela, in Venezuela, Maduro was given up. The Americans had to use almost no force at all in Venezuela. It was a backroom deal. Okay, so Chinese air defense was not tested in Venezuela. Iran, it's possible that Chinese air defense is failing right now, possible, but it's not like Iran only uses Chinese air defense. So yeah, so overall, it's clear that the export versions of Chinese systems aren't great. That much we can say for sure. Kuldeep Singh says, "Will India ever be superpower? Will India ever be a superpower after siding with the US in this war and losing its sovereignty?" See, maybe you are new to this channel. On this channel, we don't use the word superpower in Vishwaguru. Indians are obsessed with superpower and being Vishwaguru. So we're not discussing Vishwaguru here, so I'll not discuss that. But superpower, you have to first be a regional power to be a superpower. Huh? You have to first be a regional power. Is India a regional power? In the Indian subcontinent, the Americans did a regime change in Pakistan in 2022 by removing Imran Khan and bringing Shehbaz Sharif in India's backyard. Could India do anything? No, no, no. In 2024, the Americans did a regime change in Bangladesh. They ousted pro-India Sheikh Hasina and brought in Mohammed Yunus. Could India do anything? No, no, no. Then the Americans did a regime change in Nepal. Could India do anything? No, no, no. We are not even a regional power. In the Indian subcontinent, the US is more powerful than India. So what superpower? First, learn to be a regional power, right? Vivek Singh says, "Seeing the cry in many parts of Bharat, clearly the minority is an illusion, global majority is the reality, and Indic faith are victims." Question: why can't we have Bhumiputra law like Malaysia? 99% of Indians are not even aware of what the Bhumiputra law of Malaysia is, which gives higher status to indigenous people. Bhumiputra, right? And their culture. In India, the Bhumiputras are second-class citizens. Why can't we have it? Because India is a secular nation. It is a secular constitution. It has secular laws, and the government loves secularism and worships the constitution. That's why we can't have these things. We can't have nice things in India because our standards are poor, and the entire fabric of the nation, of the governance system, the constitution, the laws, the institutions, everything is Hindu-phobic. India is a Hindu-phobic apartheid state. Vishal Roar says, "By neutrality, I meant not going to the US side, and S400 News was on ANI Digital X page." All right, sir. All right, got it. Thank you. Vardhan Vivek says, "India, China dumping US treasury bonds and buying gold, silver. So market crash coming in the US. US real estate crashing. News is India is buying S400. India go for POK. Today, a Saudi official said US abandoned us." Yeah, all these things are happening. Different pieces of context, clearly. A Saudi official, I saw something on Twitter that a Saudi, let's see. We have Twitter here? Yeah, we have Twitter. Let me reboot Twitter and open a new fresh page. One second. Yeah, let's put that on the screen. Okay. So we have Twitter here, and Mr. Modi is writing about King Abdullah II of Jordan, I suppose. Yeah, okay. So Saudi official, right? Okay, let's remove this. Saudi. Why don't I use my voice? Saudi official said US abandoned them. Let's see. Do we have something? Okay, so this Saudi official says America has abandoned us. It's focusing its defense systems on protecting. Yeah, like we did, like I said a while ago. Yeah, so a Saudi official has said that they're upset, obviously, and I don't blame them. Yeah. So yeah, these are some developments that are happening in real time as we speak right now. Yeah. Hari CR says, why Modi hasn't xed anything regarding Khamenei's death? Because India has chosen a side. India has chosen the side of Israel and the US. That's why Mr. Modi will not speak about Khamenei's death. He will not offer any condolences to Iran. Okay? India has chosen a side. Hani Sharma says, interestingly, the US is destroying its own F4s, F-15s, F5s, and F-14s. What happened to the kill switch? Everyone's aware they have it. The US is destroying its own F4s, F5s, and F-14s. I'm not aware of the context. I'm not aware of the context. The US is destroying its own F4s, F5s, F-14s. I'm sorry. I'm not aware. Sorry. All right. Next. Modi ji weeks ago speech about decolonization of Indian mines by 2035. This is by Deepak, dating coach. Nice name. Modi ji weeks ago speech about decolonization of Indian mines by 2035. Macaulay. Topic was never discussed by content creators. Their identity, ego is based on it. Looks like we are fighting a lost battle. So Mr. Modi spoke about decolonization of Indian mines by 2035 and something about Macaulay. And content creators did not discuss this topic. Okay. So I'm sure there's a bunch of Indian content creators who focus on Mr. Modi and what he says, and then they, I suppose, analyze that and discuss that. And what you're saying is that nobody discussed this particular speech of Mr. Modi's. Identity, ego is based on it. I'm not based on what. Are we fighting a lost battle? The battle of what? Decolonization. The decolonization will happen through government policies, right? By through government reforms, because the whole system keeps Indians mentally colonized and progressively further colonizes Indians. And the system has to be changed, and only the government can do it. So as of now, it's not happening, but it's not a lost battle. It can still be done. And speeches about this or that are fine, but we want actual actions, not just speeches. So that's why, yeah. So I can't say about content creators what they do. They have their own thing, agenda, their own decisions they make. Right. I personally don't analyze these things. I look at geopolitics, history, and science. So I was not aware of this. All right. The awesome film says, where is your course, Geopolitics from First Principle? Should be there, I suppose. Yeah, should be there. Wherever it was. Ares Manticore says, hypothetically, how would a nuclear Iran change the situation in West Asia? Is Pakistan trying to create a corridor to Bagram, carve straight into Afghanistan? Well, if Pakistan is trying to do that, it's very far away from actually achieving that, right? So I have not seen any actions by Pakistan that indicate that they're trying to create a corridor to Bagram. I've not seen any actions thus far. I mean, the war is going on Pakistan, Afghanistan, but Pakistan isn't going into Afghan territory and grabbing territory and trying to create a corridor. So that's not happening. How would a nuclear Iran change the situation in West Asia? It would balance out Israel. Right? Mutually assured destruction. I've got nukes, you've got nukes. Don't cross certain lines. Otherwise, mutually assured destruction. So that completely changes the balance of power and the options that various nations have. If you have a nuclear powered nation in that region, totally changes everything. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, I read somewhere 3 American F-15s have been shot down and Netanyahu's office was hit by an Iranian missile. Is he alive? Okay, so I also heard 3 F-15s were shot down in Kuwait. So let's see if we have any further updates on Twitter. Let's see. Netanyahu. Yahoo. Let's see. Is there anything going on? Is there any update? I don't know what this is. Okay. Let's see if we have something Latest. Okay, some people are making all kinds of claims. I don't know about that. If you go to the latest stuff, you will see all kinds of crazy tweets. Yeah, I'm not sure if I am seeing anything about anything happening to Netanyahu. Some people are claiming Netanyahu is dead. Obviously, some people will do that. Everybody has an agenda. And the Prime Minister of Israel account has tweeted 26 minutes ago, and it's Mr. Netanyahu saying something. So officially, I don't see any indication that anything has happened to Mr. Netanyahu. Okay. American F-15s going down. Let's see. Kuwait. Let's see. This is the latest. Oh God. Yeah, Twitter is a dangerous place actually. All kinds of random stuff pops up. Okay, cats, aircraft. Yeah, so looks like a bunch of American aircraft were shot down in Kuwait, and we'll analyze later how it happened. Hani Sharma says, SAR is the Iran and Israel war is so interesting. They both look right in their position from our perspective. Iran is fighting for its existence, and so is Israel. At the end, is it just survival of the fittest? Geopolitics is about survival of the fittest. Geopolitics is also about the rule of the jungle, the rule of the jungle. So Iran is fighting for its existence. Israel is not fighting for its existence. Israel is fighting to end Iran. The war was not started by Iranian actions. Remember that. The war began with Israeli strikes on Iran and then the subsequent assassination of Mr. Khamenei. So Israel is fighting for a regime change in Iran. And Iran is fighting for its survival. Some people may disagree with what I am saying, but this is how I see it. It is definitely survival of the fittest. And it's also the law of the jungle. Yeah, that's geopolitics. The Sumit Mania says, can Iran survive the next 1 week? What's the end goal? So whether Iran can survive the next 1 week depends on how many more missiles does Iran have, and can the missile launchers remain hidden from American and Israeli surveillance? Because Iran doesn't have a great air force. Iran has highly sophisticated and capable missiles. So number one, how many more missiles does Iran have? If they have 10, 20,000 more missiles and maybe 10, 20,000 more drones, they could definitely last more than a week. But if their stocks are getting depleted, then they may not last a week. And even if they have lots of missiles, but the Americans then find out where the missiles are stored, then they could take out the storage sites. Then Iran may not be able to last long. So it depends on a variety of factors. The end goal of Iran is to survive. The end goal of America and Israel is to do a regime change in Israel. If that doesn't work, they will want to balkanize and break up Iran. Aris Manticore has become a new member. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Welcome to the channel's membership. Thank you. And YouTube is messing up his membership again. Was member before. YouTube, maybe it's not a big fan of me, perhaps. I don't know. So sorry that this happened to you. And welcome back. Thank you. Divodas Putra says, is China messed up? Has the US surrounded them properly? See, China is fine. China doesn't have any military issues right now. The US has definitely surrounded them thoroughly, encircled them. See, if you look at the geography, where is map? Here is map. We put map on the screen, yes? So here's the map. If we look at China, the whole of Japan is a gigantic American fortress, more than 130 American military bases. South Korea, more than 100 military bases of America. Taiwan, an American fortress once again. Then you have Guam. Where is Guam? Where is Guam? Here is Guam. Major American military, naval, and air force base. So there are these three island chains that completely hem in China. China is surrounded from that perspective. China has been bullying Vietnam and the Philippines, so they are also pro-US. Okay. Myanmar, there's a war going on, civil war, which nobody hears about these days. So, at least from this perspective, China is encircled from the east and the south. China has deliberately maintained very bad relations with India, which means India is not friendly with China. So, that's also an issue for China. And in the north, you have Russia, which does not trust China. Currently, they are cooperating because of the situation. So China is obviously encircled in a certain sense, not completely encircled, but surrounded from multiple directions because of their own bad policies. Economically, they are very powerful. Technologically, they are great. They have one of the world's best education systems. Militarily, they are untested, and the US is just way too powerful for the Chinese. And that nuclear deterrent isn't that great. So that's the situation for China. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, will Pakistan get involved now since Saudi has been hit by an Iranian missile? Can India get involved in this war in the future? India should not, under any circumstances, get involved in this war. And I hope it doesn't. And I don't see it happening. Will Pakistan get involved because Saudi Arabia has been hit by Iranian missiles? Well, they have this mutual defense agreement, right? Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. So if the Saudis invoke that, then Pakistan will be duty bound or treaty bound to come to the aid of Saudi Arabia in a military way. So then the Pakistanis will have to decide: shall we honor the agreement we have, or shall we betray the Saudis? I think it's still kind of at this point less likely that Pakistan gets involved directly at this point. But in the future, in the coming days, it may perhaps get involved. We'll see. Vinicius fan says, Israel is losing support in the US, and the next generation of US leaders might be anti-Israel, considering many of them are seeing through the Israeli possession of the US. In that case, would India be the next host? I think there may be many American politicians who are not pro-Israel, but overall, Israel still has a lot of support in the US, bipartisan support. The next generation of US leaders might be, I don't know, maybe, may not be, I don't know. In that case, could India be the next host? I don't know. Hani Sharma says, Kim Jong-un feels like the kid who has all the expensive toys, but nobody is willing to play with him. But he's got some of the coolest toys, doesn't he? So that makes up for everything else, I suppose. Pratardana says F-35 would be a stamp of vasalhood. I agree. That will be the stamp, official recognition, certification. I agree with you. So let's watch out for that. If that happens, it's an official certificate of vasalhood. Pradeep Kumar Roy says Taliban hit Nur Khan Air Base by drone attack. Outstanding job, Taliban. Outstanding job, Afghanistan. We give full support to Afghanistan. Absolutely. Good job. Adil Bens says, if Iran had gotten a hold over the nukes, will that be disastrous for the world? Because that's the narrative the West is pushing. Iraq, weapons of mass destruction similarity here. See, if hypothetically Iran has nuclear weapons, will it be disastrous for the world? It won't be disastrous for the world. Iran is not a bunch of crazy people, right? Iran is a very responsible nation. They have behaved very responsibly since 1979. The Americans claim they are a terrorist nation or whatever. That's just claims. We know they're not terrorist nations. They're not. We know here in India that Iranians aren't terrorists. It's the Pakistanis who the Americans love who are terrorists, not Iran. And Iran has been a pretty responsible nation, the way I see it. If they had nuclear weapons, it would have perhaps made West Asia more stable. Probably it would have made West Asia more stable than what it is right now. And that would be actually better for the world. True multipolarity is like 15, 20 nations with nuclear weapons. That is true multipolarity. So I don't agree with the Western narrative. I don't. Nobody's Buddha says, long time follower from DXB. DXB Dubai? Let me just check what DXB means. But thank you so much for being a long time follower. What is DXB? I think it's Dubai. DXB Dubai. Okay, DXB Dubai. Yeah, right. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for being a long time follower. Really appreciate that. Dubai is partially resuming flights soon. Your thoughts? Source DXB Media Office. Okay. Partially resuming flights soon. Well, that's good news then. It's good news for the people who need to travel in and out. And yeah, I mean, what are my thoughts? My thoughts are that it's positive news. It's good news. And I'm sure this decision will be taken in a very responsible manner, in the sense that if there is any threat to any civilian aircraft, then the resumption should not happen. So if there is the partial resumption of flights, it means that there is a high confidence that civilian aircraft don't face threats, at least in some sectors. So overall, I think it's very positive news. Yeah. Vinicius fan says, everyone knows about the Rothschild and Jewish control wasn't being hidden the purpose, or are they letting people know about themselves on purpose? About the Rothschilds, I haven't studied the Rothschilds, and people said that the Jews control the world. I don't know about that. I haven't studied history from this perspective, and I haven't studied this particular set of aspects of history. So I personally don't know much about the Rothschilds. I hear a lot of people saying this. Are there any books about this? I'll have to look into this. I don't know. So I'm not the right guy to ask about Rothschilds. Harjab Bhatia says, if India buys Sukhoi 57 over the F-35, is it still a vassal? If India buys the Sukhoi 57, India is definitely not a vassal. India still is a technological vassal. But buying Sukhoi 57 is a big statement. It will tremendously displease the United States. So if India does that, it's not a vassal. From the other perspectives, technologically we are a vassal. Technologically we are completely dependent on the US. Okay. Nahusha Acharya says, do you think the presence of 6 million Indians in Gulf countries made India pivot this time? It's difficult to evacuate them, unlike students from Ukraine. The reason for India's pivot is not the 6 million Indians. The reason for India's pivot is American pressure. Okay? That's the reason for India's pivot. And it's not like those 6 million people are being targeted by anybody. They're actually a big asset for India in the Gulf region. So it's not the presence of those 6 million or whatever Indians that has made India choose a certain side. It is pure and simple pressure applied by the US. Frantic Gamer says, so India is vassal. Really? By that logic, China was a vassal of the US as well in the 80s and 90s. Their entire manufacturing infrastructure was dominated by US companies. I'm talking about today. And once again, for the record, where are we? For the record, my dear friends, as of today, this is my stand. There are 6 sovereign nations. India is one of them, as of today. Right? And I will reinvestigate and reanalyze this after this war is over. See, understand sovereignty. Sovereignty is not some mythical, vague concept. Sovereignty can be calculated, and you can put a numerical score on sovereignty. What are the elements of sovereignty? There is territorial sovereignty. There is economic sovereignty. There is legislative and policy-based sovereignty. There is technological sovereignty. So if your territory is under your control, you have full territorial sovereignty. If you have your own currency and you control your economy, then you have economic sovereignty. There is military sovereignty. If you completely control your armed forces, you have military sovereignty. Then legislative and policy sovereignty. If you control your laws, you decide your laws and you decide your policies without external interference, then you have legislative and policy sovereignty. In technology, if you are completely independent from a technological perspective, you have technological sovereignty. All those things you have to consider together in an intelligent and analytical manner with the right data, and then you can decide or determine whether a nation is a sovereign nation or a vassal. Okay? So it's not done based on emotions. It's based on cold, hard facts and clear analysis. That is how we determine whether a nation is sovereign or not. I'm not putting out ideas I'm not pulling ideas out of air. I'm not saying a nation is sovereign or a vassal based on my emotions, whether I like the nation or I hate it. That's not how it works. All right. Eno says, is it true कि खमेनी अलग ही लेवल का बंदा था? I don't know what is the meaning of अलग ही लेवल का बंदा था. Oh, ये तो बिल्कुल अलग ही लेवल का बंदा था. I don't know. What do you mean by अलग लेवल का बंदा? First of all, banda. You know the word banda, what it means? It means slave. Why do Indians use the word banda, North Indians? Because that word was used by the Turks to refer to Indians. ये सब बंदे हैं. Means these are all our slaves. And then it became part of everyday use. Oh, kitne bande hai? Banda is a very, very bad word. It means slave. And we use it for ourselves today. That is the effect of long-term foreign occupation. All right. Trishul says, can we say that World War III started on 2023? In 2022, went on second gear after attack on Israel 7th October 23, third gear by Operation Sindoor, and now it went on fourth gear in 2026? No. I don't consider the world to be in any phase of World War III. World War III means direct confrontation between superpowers. So in terms of nuclear weapons, Russia is a superpower. It has more nuclear weapons than the US. So a direct confrontation, direct military confrontation between Russia and the US, that is Third World War. Right now we are in the Cold War. It's a Cold War period, but with more hot. It's heating up now. But it's not Third World War. Absolutely not. Avnish Mishra says, why is everyone spamming Bheem in the chat? Well, I wonder, but I will allow it. Infinix says, Armenia is 98% Christian, Azerbaijan is 99% Shia Muslim, Iran is 95% Shia. I'm confused as to why Iran supports Armenia. Azerbaijan is a Turkic nation. Iran, like us, is an Aryan nation. Armenia has Aryan roots. Azerbaijan is a vassal, or you could say an ally of Turkey. Turkey and Armenia and Azerbaijan are both Turkic nations. They want to erase Armenia from the map of the world to create a pan-Turan corridor of Turkic nations. Armenia is the only problem in the way. They want to erase it. If Turkey becomes more powerful, it's a problem for Iran. That's why Iran wants Armenia to not get destroyed and not get erased from the map of the world. And India and Armenia also, and Iran also, all three of them don't want Turkey to get more powerful and more influential. That's why India, Iran, and Iran are working together to help Armenia survive. That's why a Hindu nation and a Shia Islamic nation are working together to save a Christian nation. Giora TV says, do you think Iran will use dirty bombs? It depends on the circumstances. If Iran is in desperate straits, then they'll use it. Yeah. Frantic Gamer says, also US will devastate China. Defending China is orders of magnitude stronger than attacking US, irrespective of how many bases it has. Come on. Thank you for your input, sir. Thank you. Pradeep Kumar Roy says, about Medici Bank and Family, world's oldest bank. I have not studied this. Sorry. Adamalai says, for the next 150 to 200 years, what's the safest country to practice Hinduism? Singapore, China? Definitely not India. Whichever country is stable and neutral, religiously neutral. If China survives 200 years, then I don't think China has anything whatsoever against Hinduism. If you live in China and you're practicing Hinduism, the Chinese government will do nothing to you, nothing whatsoever. China has no issue with Hinduism. Singapore, sure. Singapore, very nice place, survives 200 years the way it is. Hinduism, you can practice there happily, peacefully, without any issues. US, I'm not sure. Western Europe, I'm not sure. Russia, as long as you don't do political Hinduism, which nobody does, Russia has no issues with Hinduism either. But definitely not India. India is a Hindu-phobic country. Right Angle says, if you see the swastik properly, it is Bij Mantra of Lord Ganpati. Gung drawn from four sides, fancy style, tell by my guru Hari Shankarji. All right, sir, I'll look into it. Okay. Gautam says, can combined firepower of BRICS challenge the US? No. Ankit says, waiting for your how to raise your standard series. All right, thank you for the reminder, sir. Thank you. Imagi Plus says, will there be a third world war? What's your opinion? What's my opinion? I, first of all, hope it never happens. Secondly, I think we are still far away from a situation where a World War III could happen. Still far. I mean, not very far away, but we are reasonably certain it will not happen anytime soon, hopefully. So I hope it doesn't happen. And right now, it's not under any, it's not like it could happen anytime. Yeah. Biplab Datta says, do you think India and China are the reason behind this war in the interest of the US? Not India. China is. So the US wants to, what is the actual objective of the US? Is to take control of the entire world's oil resources. Okay? Iran is a major oil exporter. 15-20% of China's imports come from Iran. If the US can secure that, grab that, then they can anytime cut down that 20% that China gets from Iran. The US has already taken Venezuela, from which about 3% of China's oil was coming. If it can stop Iran's oil to China by taking control of Iran, or by fragmenting, balkanizing Iran and then taking it over piece by piece, then it's a huge blow for China. China's oil also comes from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, UAE, Nigeria, other countries, all of which the US can force to stop selling oil to China. So that is the objective, to completely control China's energy destiny and China's energy resources, from where China gets energy. That's the objective. India, nothing. Putin says, is John Mearsheimer best and most unbiased Western analyst? I haven't really studied what he has to say. I don't know. He seems to be pretty famous these days, but I haven't been listening to his lectures and reading his stuff, so I don't know. Hari Krishnan says, how vulnerable is India's energy security if the Strait of Hormuz becomes militarized or partially closed? Well, currently today, as of right now, what is the time? India's time? It's almost 11 p.m. India time on the 2nd of March 2026. As of right now, the Strait of Hormuz is completely shut. Completely shut. What percentage of India's oil comes through the Strait of Hormuz? Let's find out. Must be more than 50%, more than 60%. Okay. What percentage of India's oil imports come through the Strait of Hormuz. 35 to 50%. That is massive. That's huge. So right now the Strait of Hormuz is shut down because there's a war happening there. If that lasts a week, 2 weeks, if it lasts 3 days, 5 days, the oil prices worldwide will go up. Huge, they'll shoot up massively. If that lasts a couple of weeks or a month, the prices of everyday items in India will become way more expensive. Okay. So India will obviously reroute its oil supplies, buy way more from Russia and so on, which could offset what's happening here to a certain extent. But it's going to make things bad for India. So India is very vulnerable to a closure of the Strait of Hormuz, very much so. Akshay Nerurkar says, my wife and I are big followers. Thank you very much to you, sir, and to your wife. Thank you so much. It's frustrating to see how democracy is failing in India. Do you think a military rule is the ultimate solution? Yeah, democracy isn't really working out great for India. Democracy is the rule of the. It's essentially the standards are set to the lowest common denominator in democracy, right? Democracy is all about ruling through popularity, then by ruling through high standards. High standards are extremely unpopular because they require sacrifices and pain, short-term pain. No one likes that. Everybody wants short-term pleasure. So that's why democracy brings your standards down generation after generation. So what's the solution? Military rule? I don't believe in military rule. We have to ask ourselves that today things are bad because of the situation, democracy, all that. When India was great in the past, what kind of system of governance did we have? And the answer is straightforward: monarchy and imperial rule, not military rule. Monarchy, kings and emperors. That's what always worked for India. Who was Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj? What was the Maratha Empire? Was it democracy? Was it military rule? No, it was imperial rule. The Chola Empire, imperial rule. The Gupta age, the Gupta era. Right? Samudragupta, Chandragupta, Kumaragupta, great emperors. The Kushan era, the great Kanishka, one of our greatest emperors. The Mauryan Samarajya, Chandragupta Maurya and so on, great emperors. Who was Sri Ram? Was he a military ruler? No, he was a king. Who was Sri Krishna? Was he a military ruler? No, he was a king. That's your answer, sir. That's your answer. Really now, Ms. Patel says, am I wrong to be skeptical of the HPV vaccine for girls? I am skeptical of any unnecessary additional vaccines. So I don't know. I've heard all kinds of nasty things about the Bill Gates Foundation and their HPV vaccine trials. Now, if you try to research on a surface level, they'll say it's all been debunked. But I am suspicious and I'm very skeptical. Yeah. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad vaccine. I don't know which vaccine the government is insisting on using right now. But what is the HPV vaccine for? It's a human papilloma virus vaccine. How do you get it? You get it through unsafe sexual intercourse and promiscuity and all kinds of stuff. Why do girls need that? Why do 15-year-old girls need that? Are you saying that they will all be promiscuous in the future in 3, 4, 5 years' time? I don't know, really. Vibhav Kumar Devangan. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Ray now says, is it bad if we manufacture a lot of foreign weapons? If we manufacture them in India through using indigenous resources, then it's fine. If we acquire the technology to manufacture foreign weapons here and we manufacture them actually in-house instead of assembling the components that came from outside, then it's good. It's not bad. Yash Kasliwal says, "Do you think Iran has the capability to close the Strait of Hormuz, and is it in their self-interest to close it? Do you see them closing it at some point?" Well, the last I checked, it was closed. Let's find out. Is it in their interest? Sure, absolutely. Is the one second? Is the Strait of Hormuz closed right now? Technically, no. It's closed. It's closed. Technically, I don't care about technically. In all practicality, it is closed. It's closed. It is in the interest of the of Iran to close it right now. Absolutely, absolutely. And they have the capability. Absolutely, they have the capability. It's the first time it's ever happened. So yeah. Giora TV says, shouldn't India use this important strategic moment to pursue its objectives regarding Pakistan occupied Kashmir and weakening Pakistan by opening a front, especially when Pakistan is already at war with Afghanistan and in its west, in its north, and US is also occupied with the Iran conflict. The US is occupied with the Iran conflict, but the US has the capability and the capacity to keep an eye on everything else that's happening in the world. That's number one. Number two, Pakistan is definitely occupied with the war situation it faces with Afghanistan. Yeah. But Pakistan also has sufficient troops and assets deployed in the Eastern Front with India. They will never pull out those assets and put them in front of Afghanistan. No, they will not redeploy that. That is permanently stationed facing India, which is fine. We can deal with that. The major problem is that Pakistan is a US vassal. Pakistan is an invaluable US asset. The US, for the past several decades, has used Pakistan as a stick to beat India with. Now, we want POK, we want regime change in Pakistan, we want Pakistan to stop being a terrorist nation. We can do that by defeating Pakistan militarily and so on. But the US will never allow this to happen. The last time we went to war with Pakistan in May 2025, the Operation Sindoor 3-day war, the Americans forced India to stop the war. They arm twisted India into stopping the war. They will not allow India to start a war again. And if India starts a war, this time with Pakistan, the Americans will tariff the hell out of India and sanction the hell out of India. It's not like the Americans aren't watching. It's not like the Americans only have two eyes that are focused in Iran right now. The Americans have tens of thousands of pairs of eyes. They have departments focused solely on what they call South Asia and India. South Asia is an absolutely horrible term. It's the Indian subcontinent. My point is, India can't dream of doing this right now. I'll be very pleased if India does it, which would be a declaration of independence, actually, and sovereignty. But I think it's unlikely. It's unlikely. It will be foolhardy for India to do that unless we have US approval. So I think it's unlikely. Saurabh Kulkarni says, why Russia and China are not able to fight US through Iran? Iran is fighting the US and Israel on its own. Right. And if Russia and China start supplying Iran with weapons and all, then the US will take it as a declaration of war. And Russia, see, China can't even supply Iran. China is too far away. Have you seen the map? Do I have to show the map for this? Okay. One second. I'll put the map on the screen. See. Look at the map. See, this is Iran. Where is China? Far, far, far away. How will China supply Iran with whatever they want or they need? Russia could supply Iran, but Russia is already embroiled in a war in Ukraine. Russia could supply Iran through the Caspian Sea. Russia isn't that far away, right? So Russia could do it, but Russia is already embroiled in a war in Ukraine, and it may not make a lot of sense for them to get involved in a second major war. And China is too risk averse to get involved in any military conflict. So China is unwilling. China may give some satellite intelligence and all that. And Russia may provide Iran with the GLONASS system instead of GPS. The Chinese may give Iran the Beidou system instead of GPS, but that's the extent of which to which they will help Iran as of now. That's why Iran is fighting entirely on its own. That's why I say it's a completely sovereign nation. It is demonstrating its sovereignty by fighting for its survival alone. Galliver says, OSINT and its sources, Mill Blogger, etc., agree our AMD is invincible, impregnable, is tested against all systems, not just China, including now misinformation, no pun intended. Even Russia couldn't integrate and intelligize to our level. So we have tremendous engineers and scientists in India who are paid peanuts to do this work, and still they have built up the best battle-tested air defense system in the world: anti-missile defense, anti-drone defense, and so on, anti-aircraft defense. Incredible job, brilliant job. The no amount of thanks is enough to thank these anonymous, unknown engineers who have done this for us. Yeah, so I agree with you. Hari CR says, means Modi is not allowed to say even a formal condolence. China, Russia, even Pakistan did that. How will Iran take this if the regime survives the war? India has chosen a side. Mr. Modi will not even say give a formal condolence. How will Iran take this? Iran will remember this. Other nations will pay attention to this development. Russia will pay attention to this development. Other nations that possibly were looking at India as some kind of a world leader will pay attention to this. Yeah, this will have some kind of impact on India's credibility and India's standing as a sovereign nation. This is not how a sovereign nation behaves. These are facts. These are absolute facts. Mr. Modi is not even allowed to give formal condolences. Yeah, clearly. Vivek Singh says, would you be acting to attend the Konkan summit? It would be a privilege to see you in person and get Q&A on your Aryan Invasion Theory page and Indic identity. Will I be attending the Konkan summit? I am not aware of the Konkan summit. Where is it held? When is it going to be held? I haven't been contacted. If you are the organizer, if you want me to come, I'll be happy to come. I mean, I'll be happy to consider it, given if my schedule allows it. If you want me to attend, and if you're not the organizer, you could ask the organizers if you want. So I'm not aware of this. Sorry, I'm not aware. Prathamesh Mishra says Modi's Israel visit could be an evacuation mission, considering Bibi's body language. If it was kissing the ring, I missed the gloating. Okay. Evacuation mission. Evac mission. If it was kissing the ring, I'll tell you something. When somebody kisses the ring, okay, hypothetically, the person whose ring is being kissed doesn't gloat. Yeah, that may happen in Bollywood movies or Hollywood movies. Even in Hollywood movies, where does the term kissing the ring come from? It comes from The Godfather. When the Godfather's ring is kissed, do you see the Godfather gloating? That's not how the world works in the real world. It may work like that in TV serials and movies, not in the real world. Meg Patel says, love from Spain, Mr. Chavda. Gracias. Thank you so much. Yeah. Adil Bans says, continuation to previous question, does backing militia, not being a bad actor like Iran, backing Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas, they even attacked Indian shipment previously. Backing militia. So the Houthis are the government of certain parts of Yemen. Right. The West calls them a militia. They consider themselves to be a legitimate government. When it comes to Hezbollah, they are kind of running or ruling Lebanon, aren't they? Hamas, Yeah, so it depends. Iran is doing whatever it can do to survive and to further its national interest. Now, for us, I mean, some people call these elements terrorist elements. Some people call them militia. Some people call them legitimate or semi-legitimate governments. Depends on who you are and how you see it. My point is, the national interest is always paramount, and you can decide what is a red line that you want to cross and what is a red line that what is not a red line. For example, for India, terrorism is a red line. So India will never uh, use any form of terrorism whatsoever. That's very clear. But some nations do it. I'm not saying Iran is a terrorist nation. Iran has allies in West Asia. Syria was an ally. So the Americans designated Syria as a terrorist nation. Then the Houthis, they are fighting for Yemen's independence essentially. So that's why the Americans call them terrorists. Hezbollah, well, maybe they are terrorists, whatever, because they fight Israel, right? That's why. So what the West does very well is whoever is against them, put titles on them or tags. You terrorist, you terrorist. And then designate Iran as a terrorist nation. So look, that's how it is. It's a game of narratives. It's a game of propaganda. Hamas, they attacked Indian shipments previously. Hamas also supports Pakistan in Kashmir, right? So the world is complicated overall. The world is complicated. It is what it is. Hamas, obviously, they have consistently supported Pakistan's claim on Kashmir. Yeah, some Hamas leader even visited POK, I believe, in support of Pakistan. So yeah, so yeah, Hamas is definitely an enemy of India, and that's why you will never hear me support Hamas in any way whatsoever. Bloody bunch of terrorists, no question. But yeah, they have some utility for Iran. Yeah, okay. Next, Ricky says, "Will FIFA World Cup get cancelled this year?" FIFA World Cup. Where is it being held? Held? I forgot. I had a question about this in the last live stream also. FIFA World Cup. Let's see. Let's Google it. Where is the next FIFA World Cup being held? In United States, Mexico, and so on. Canada, USA, Mexico. I don't see it being cancelled. It's far away from this situation. I don't see it being cancelled. Galluer says, observations. 1, Iran used warning missile shots before actual move. 2nd, hypersonics were moved. 3rd, CEP in error probability, circular error probability in anti-land vectors is quite low, less than 500 meters at least. Observations. Okay. I'm not sure about Iran using warning missile shots before the actual move in this war. In the 12-day war, it happened. Yeah, the Iranians actually gave warnings. In this war, as far as I know, there have been no warnings because the Iranians were attacked first, and in a very devastating way. I mean, they killed Khamenei. So I don't know about this war if this is happening, warning shots, but last time it was there. Yes, hypersonics are being used. We know that. CEB, circular error probability in anti-land vectors, is quite low. Okay, I'm not aware of that, but okay. House of Discussion says, America can destroy any country in hours, so why are its enemies more confident today than ever before? Something is shifting and it's not military. I don't see its enemies being confident right now. I mean, one of the major enemies, let's say, of America is China. Do you see any confidence from China right now? China is super quiet right now. Historically, the past 10, 15 years, their diplomats have been super brash and super aggressive. Where is that today? Do you call that confidence? It's the exact opposite of confidence. China is super quiet, uncharacteristically, unnaturally quiet. Which other enemies does the US have? Yeah, you could say Maduro was an enemy. See what happened to him. I'm not sure what you are seeing, but I'm not seeing that. Aries Manticore says, our tech stack will slowly be reclaimed Not now, but probably in 20 years. It will be insidious and will seem like partial US control, shares, transfer of technology. I hope so. I hope so. It can be done. Over 20 years, it can be done, yeah. So let's hope so. Let's hope it happens, yes. Uday Giri says, US is poking Iran so that it will hit Middle East harder, so that the rich people and investments come back to the US and destroy Gulf autonomy. What's your take? No, I don't see it that way. The Gulf region is it's an asset for the US. The US has no issue with the Gulf being prosperous. I don't see it that way. The US is not doing all this to destroy Gulf the autonomy of the Gulf countries. The US is doing this to destroy Iran and to take control of the oil. That's the reason. And it's doing this so that China is further choked off. That is the objective. That's how I see it. Harrier says, do you think the US and the EU are oligarchies? The US is an oligarchy. The EU is a vassalized region of the US. The US is an oligarchy, yes. Putin says, about Hinduism in Russia, 2% are Hindu in the Altai region. Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't aware of the Altai region and Hindus there. The Buryats are Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhism, I believe. But yeah, Altai region Hindus. Really, let's find out. Hinduism in Russia's Altai region. Small but notable population, 2% of the Altai region. Do we have some interesting images? Okay. Interesting. Very interesting fact that you brought up. Thank you. Smith Zaveri says, will the GCC countries attack Iran in response to the attack on their key cities? No. They don't have the strength. They don't have the military power to do that. If they dare to do that, they'll face large-scale missile attacks from Iran. They won't do it. Giora TV says, seeing the Saudi Aramco crumble down makes me concerned about our critical assets like the Jamnagar refinery. Are there any dedicated air defense systems in place to protect such key strategic installations? So when it comes to the Aramco refinery, which refinery was it that was hit? Ras Tanura refinery. And it's been temporarily shut down after a drone attack. The drones did not directly hit the refinery. That's what one hears. But there was some indirect debris that fell on the refinery, which set off a fire and so on. That's what one hears. That's what the official news is. I'm not sure how true or false it is, but yeah, okay. So yeah, it definitely will make you concerned about massive critical interests of our assets of ours, like the Jamnagar refinery, which is kind of on the border, right? I mean, if we look at, okay, let's not look at it. Jamnagar, Western India, right? The question is, do we have any dedicated air defense system in place, air defense systems in place there? Well, I don't know. I'm hoping we do. And I am saying it makes sense for us to have it. I mean, why would we not have dedicated air defense systems for such a critical asset of ours? So yeah, I'm pretty sure we have taken the requisite measures. Aries Manticore says, my India tech stack prediction. The government of India is probably prepping backups for the eventuality when the US uses its tech levers to vassalize us. It will be a very painful and forceful replacement. Well, I will anytime take temporary short-term pain for long-term sovereignty, for long-term gains. It's like going to the gym. You go to the gym, if you're a beginner, you go and lift weights and so on. The first week, 2 weeks, everything hurts. Everything hurts. Even getting out of bed hurts. Even sitting down hurts. But if you push through for the first couple of weeks, it stops hurting. I mean, this minor soreness, but nothing like the first 2 weeks. And if you continue for the next 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, you're going to see a transformation. So short-term pain is going to be there, but it's important that you push through that. So I hope that you are right, and I hope that this happens. HC1746 is a new member. Thank you very much, sir or ma'am. and welcome to the channel's membership. Thank you. Pawan G says, why can't India take advantage and do operation in Pakistan? Because the US won't allow us, because Pakistan is very important for the US. The US openly, blatantly supports Pakistan. How many times has Asim Munir visited the White House in the past few months? They love Pakistan. Pakistan is super useful for them. The Americans will never allow India to destroy one of their assets. So, Vishnu Panchal says, how to solve corruption in India? By becoming completely intolerant of corruption. I mean, we have laws against corruption, but what happens? The laws aren't enforced. Or if the law is enforced, then the case gets bogged down somewhere in so on, that sort of thing. So the solution is become completely intolerant of corruption, right? And reform the institutions that are possibly one of the causative of this in some way or the other. NetStatGrep says, does the non-use of black magic in wars prove that it doesn't exist? I don't even know. I have no idea whatsoever. Is the absence of evidence of absence? Not really. But am I saying that I believe in this? Absolutely not. So I have no idea about this. Sorry. Arush Mahajan says, big fan. It is said, thank you, sir. It is said 16 Chinese military cargo planes flew to Iran, and soon after takeoff, they cut off transponders and flew with supplies and jammers to Iran. What are my thoughts? I'm not aware of this. I don't know. Is it possible? It may be possible that this may have happened. Do you think would it have happened after the war began? I think that's unlikely. Before the war began, it's possible the Chinese sent some supplies. That's possible, but I am not aware of it. So yeah, it certainly is possible that this may have happened. Aries Manticore says, I mean official vassalization, not just tech vassalization. The whole critical market is occupied by super giants. Yes, to be against them would be electorally inconvenient for any government to act immediately. Okay. The whole critical market is occupied by super giants. You mean the mega corporations and so on. To be against them would be electorally inconvenient for any government to act immediately. Yeah. All right. Okay. Vivek RC says, how do you reckon one can bring a systemic change, for instance, monarchy or some other change, etc., if it during chaos like wars? Or do you see some progressive way to achieve it? If so, how? There is no progressive or non-destructive way to achieve this. If you want to transform India into, let's say, a presidential system, right now it's a parliamentary democracy, right, with prime minister. If you want to transform the system, how do you do it? Does the constitution allow it? The constitution doesn't allow that, I suppose. Let's say you want a new constitution. How do you do that? Will the Constitution of India allow a new constitution to be brought in? Never. If you want to make India a monarchy, a non-democratic monarchy, does the Indian constitution and Indian system allow this? It doesn't allow it at all. There is no legal way of doing it. So how do you bring a systemic change in India? Very, very, very hard to do it legally. Impossible to do it legally. So it can only happen during some state of chaos where you have to create a system again from scratch or something. Putin says possibility of September 11 like thing by Shia revenge. I would not even want to comment about that. I hope it doesn't happen. Oja Smith Kumar says, India sending 3 ships to tackle Houthis in the Red Sea. Really? Let's see. Indian Navy Red Sea. Deployed as early 2024. That's old news. Houthis. Let's see. Navy Houthis. Okay, so I'm not seeing any news right now. I'll have to dig if it is true, but yeah, I don't know. Godliness says, today, many of the so-called right-wing geopolitics experts are busy in lying and bootlicking for the current establishment. But then we have a Kohinoor in you who always stands with the truth. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I don't know what the other experts are doing. Uh, as you all may know, I don't really watch other podcasts or the shows of other experts, so I don't know what they're doing. I do my thing, and I try to be as honest as I possibly can. Sometimes I do self censorship because certain things you can't speak, but I never lie. Okay, so that much I can tell you. Uh, Sometimes I may be wrong about something. Some people may disagree with that, but at least I'm doing it honestly. So that's what I can tell you, and I'm very glad. I'm very grateful to have the support of all of you. So thank you so much. Rook Place says, why does Modi speak about making India a superpower internally, but when it comes to answering foreign powers, he just cows down? See, there's a difference between capabilities and dreams. There's a difference between words and actions. So, see, Mr. Modi is the Prime Minister of India. His job is to keep up the morale of the country, to keep people optimistic and positive. And so you can do that. You should do that as a Prime Minister. And Mr. Modi is also a politician. If he doesn't get votes, he will not remain Prime Minister. And he is the best Prime Minister we've had in years, decades. So, because we are a democracy, you also have to get votes. And if you say superpower, Vishwaguru, Vishwaguru, and get votes, why not? So that's the difference between words and actions. Now, when it comes to answering foreign powers, we don't answer foreign powers except maybe the US. In the case of the US, it's just too powerful. And that's why we have to sometimes give the Americans what they want, but not other countries, right? So please understand, it's not as black and white as we see things to be. Mr. Modi is doing the best he can, I'm sure. So, yeah. Krishna BK says, explain why Muslims in India are protesting the death of Ayatollah Khamenei and Muslims in Iran are celebrating. I cannot speak on behalf of people I don't know. So I don't know. I can't explain. Why are you asking me to explain this? I don't represent either groups that you're talking about. I can't explain. I don't have an explanation. Sorry. Java Bro says, I have seen many videos of Kim Jong-un inspect farms and projects. Is it just PR or is he knowledgeable and truly concerned about quality? See, North Korea is a truly opaque nation. And I don't know what Kim Jong-un's competencies are, what his skills and depth of knowledge are like. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's concerned about quality as the ruler of North Korea. I'm pretty sure he's concerned about quality. Right? I am certain that Kim Jong-un is genuinely concerned about the quality of whatever's happening in his nation, whether it's farms, projects, whatever. So I'm sure about that. Is he knowledgeable or not? I don't know. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter as long as you're concerned about quality and improving standards. Even if you are not knowledgeable. Let's say I have no understanding of farming, but I'm concerned about the quality of farming in the country. Then whether I have knowledge or not, as long as I am being concerned and I'm taking the right appropriate actions to ensure that farming is done at high standards in the country, it's fine. So you don't have to be knowledgeable about everything. You understand? That's the important point. Kiki Sushant says, thank you for your time, sir. Thank you very much indeed, Sushantji. Thank you so much. Thank you. Putin says, AIM said Ladli Bahina like schemes could end due to oil price rises. Oh, I hope so. Okay, that'll be one good outcome of that then. King Ritvik the Great says the whole world is burning. So many things are happening. Meanwhile, we Indians are debating Abhishek versus Sanju and to win the World Cup. Well, the whole world isn't burning. Right now, there's trouble in West Asia. There's a war there. There's obviously a war between Pakistan and Afghanistan also, but the whole world isn't burning. And look, I know many Indians are debating cricket and all that, but even entertainment is an important component of your life, right? You can't work all the time. I am not against entertainment. So if watching cricket for a couple of hours in a week gives you some happiness or pleasure, There's a India match every week or something, right? So let people enjoy it. Obviously, it should not be the one thing that your whole life revolves around. But yes, you can have multiple interests and passions. So I don't see anything wrong with that. I am sure what you're trying to say is that we should not be obsessed with this. And I completely agree with you on that matter. Anurag says, it's interesting to see why China is quiet given the US's actions, given them a lot of precedence for them to act regarding the Taiwan situation. See, the Chinese, their strength is their economy and their manufacturing and industrial sector, and obviously whatever underlies that. But military power, they are no match for the US, even in their own backyard, and they simply can't afford a military confrontation with the US or even Japan or South Korea. That's why now they have realized this United States regime is totally different from all other regimes. And the US is now determined to completely transform the world order. And China has no answer to that. That's why they're so quiet. Shreyas says, can you explain why F-35s imply India as a vassal? If you see, I have been saying for several years, people have been laughing at me, right? I've been saying for several years, and people were making fun of me, including very eminent people. I've been saying for several years that the F-35 has backdoors and kill switches. I've been saying for several years that if you purchase an F-35, then every time you want to fly it, you have to essentially acquire from the US permission. It's like getting an OTP on your phone. Without the OTP, you can't do the thing. That sort of thing. So to get the OTP, you have to first send the entire flight plan to the US. They will go through the flight plan, and if they agree with it, they will give the OTP. But if you deviate from the flight plan, your aircraft won't allow you to use the weapons or whatever. That is the system with the F-35. And I have been saying that for years, and people have been making fun of me. And now recently, who was the Prime Minister of Denmark or some country acknowledged that if you own F-35s, you don't really own them. So if you buy F-35s, it's like paying tribute to the country, to the United States, to the overlord. Each F-35 must be at least $110 million. So that's how much money you pay to acquire something you don't even own. Only a slave does that. Only a vassal does that. So that's the deal. Okay, HC says, what are the credible escalation risks for GCC? Escalation risks for the GCC, credible escalation risks. Look, the GCC countries, they don't really have to worry about too much escalation. Iran will definitely target the US installations on those countries, US military bases, US personnel who may be living in hotels or whatever. Beyond that, I don't see Iran taking too much action against the GCC countries. If Iran is on the verge of going down, then they could target all the oil refineries and installations in the GCC countries. Why not? They'll do that. As far as civilians are concerned, Iran won't most likely target civilians, but they will definitely target refineries. They'll target oil wells, all that they will target if they are on the verge of going down. Beyond that, I don't see too much risks for the GCC. The Iranians will target military infrastructure, American military infrastructure, or GCC infrastructure that the Americans are using. Beyond that, I don't see too much. Godliness says, why is China so quiet? It's abnormal because China is scared. And there's nothing China can do to change the situation. And it's humiliating. China is losing face. That's why they're very quiet. Very abnormal, very unnatural. Chinese are very loud and aggressive. What happened now? Where have they gone? You see? Gallagher says, Modi chose, not otherwise. Had this character for half a quip officially defended our right to tame PK, fully knowing the latter being a pet of its enemy, tame Pakistan, my PM would have followed Dharma just as he's doing now. India for Indians have no combs. Let me try and understand what you're saying. Modi chose, not otherwise. had this character for half a quip, officially defended our right to tame Pakistan, fully knowing the Pakistan to be a pet of its enemy US. My prime minister would have followed his dharma just as he's doing now. India for Indians, have no comms. Okay, I'm not entirely sure what you're saying, but all right, thank you for your views, sir. Thank you. Open to Unlearn says pharma industry benefits financially when the people are unwell. So how can we expect this industry to be fair? No, we can't. We can't. That's why I say that in a civilized nation, the government should tax the citizens. But if you're taxing your citizens, you should provide free healthcare and free education of the highest quality. Take the taxes, take the money from the citizens, but provide free education and free healthcare. Don't allow education and healthcare to become businesses. If you commercialize education and you commercialize healthcare, it will victimize the citizens. It will exploit the citizens. Okay? So, in a civilized nation, healthcare and education should be free, must be free, as it used to be in ancient India. Giora TV says, if Iran, the primary threat in the Middle East for Arabs, is neutralized and sorted, then what justification would remain for the US to maintain its military presence and bases in the region? I'm sure they'll find some. That's a great question. So, look, if Iran is neutralized and sorted, will the Americans move out? No. Remember NATO? Remember the Cold War, 20th century? And then what happened? USSR broke up. So did the Americans disband NATO? No. They expanded NATO further and further east until the Ukraine war was inevitable. So if Iran is, let's say, hypothetically neutralized and sorted, what will the Americans do? Will they maintain their military presence? Will they dismantle it? I expected them to expand it and find some pretext for expanding it. Great question, sir. Really now, Ms. Patel says, Covishield Serum Institute was funded by Gates too. Okay, I'm not aware of that, but okay, well, I'll not be surprised if that is the case. Okay. Next question. Aries Manticore says, requesting a fair update. What would Iran do if India was facing this situation instead? Iran would not let us fully connect with Afghanistan, critical rail line, not cooperation with Russia and India for North-South corridor. So let's say India is facing the situation that Iran is facing right now. That the two major powerful nations are attacking us. Okay? Iran would not let us fully connect with Afghanistan. Iran is not in the way between India and Afghanistan. If you look at the map, it's Pakistan that's between India and Afghanistan. Iran has nothing to do with India and Afghanistan. We are not able to build a critical rail line or whatever between India and Afghanistan because Pakistan occupied Kashmir is in the way, right? That's our territory. And if we had that, we would have direct access to Afghanistan. And there's nothing Iran can do to stop us. But considering the situation, hypothetical scenario in which India is being attacked by two major countries, more powerful than India, what would Iran do? Iran would stay out of it. Iran would either remain neutral or it may possibly bow down to those countries and take their side for national interest, for self-interests. That's what Iran would do. That's a logical thing to do. So that's what I think Iran would do in that situation. Anup says, "Sir, you are different. Be different. Love you loads." Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I know I'm different, and it's okay to be different. It's okay. So thank you so much. Godliness says it's been 79 years from 47, but still our lifestyle, living standards, eating habits, and civic sense remain disgustful. We can't blame everything on invaders. Well, once I moved out, I don't like here anymore. If you move out of India, then you experience the standards of, let's say, first world countries, you won't like being in India anymore. You may definitely still have an attachment to India. You'll try and visit as soon as frequently as is possible, because you've got family here and got some kind of attachment to the land. But you will not be able to tolerate the standards that you have in India. Yeah. So you can't blame that on the invaders. You can't blame that on the invaders. I think it's high time we stop blaming the invaders and Gandhi and Nehru. I think it's high time we stop doing that. Right. Praneeth Kumar says, is Hindu theocracy India's future to unite Hindus? I can't say. To unite Hindus. Well, every single day we have fewer and fewer Hindus in India. I don't know. I can't say. There is Manticore says, to be honest, on a geopolitical level, India's standing would go down a notch for now. But Sukhoi 57 purchase would enrage the US, especially if we upgrade it. I would say even if we don't upgrade the Sukhoi 57, if we purchase it, that will be sufficient to enrage the US. Yeah. So right now, India's standing has gone down more than a notch after India has taken the side of Israel and the US and not stood with Iran. Even if we had not stood with Iran but stayed neutral, it would not be the exact same effect. So yes, India's geopolitical standing is definitely has gone down a couple of notches right now. Sukhoi 57 purchase could kind of perhaps bring it up slightly. So yeah. Smith Zaveri says, is a naval war being fought between the US and Iran? Not right now, not quite. Right now, it's an aerial war, mostly, that's being fought. Not yet a naval war. Godliness says, India will buy $500 billion worth of goods from the US in the coming years. I hope the US will not be asking to buy their THAAD or F-35s out of the money, or they will insist. They'll try their best to make us buy everything and become completely dependent on them. They'll try their best to arm twist India on becoming completely 100% dependent on them. So let's see. I hope we don't buy those things. Krish Seth says, thanks for your work. Love from California. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Sunny California, love it. Beautiful climate, beautiful weather, beautiful everything. Thank you so much. Putin says, Darshan Khandelwal, is Russia a paper tiger? Russia without nukes is messed up. Well, it's not exactly a paper tiger, but without nukes, it stands no chance. Yeah, without the nukes, without the 5,000 plus nuclear warheads it has, Russia is in deep trouble if it doesn't have that. So that's the one thing that makes Russia powerful, those nukes. Knowledge Seeker says, will Pakistan break? If yes, when? Well, as long as Pakistan has American support, Pakistan won't break. When will it lose American support? Not anytime soon. So Pakistan, just to reiterate, is an artificial temporary nation. It will break and disintegrate. But that day is not soon. Really now, Ms. Patel says, why doesn't the US send missionaries to the Gulf vassals? Because that is a red line. That's a red line the Gulf nations will never allow anyone to cross. They will rather give up their life than to have Christian missionaries in their lands. And for the US, the Gulf vassals have a lot of utility in a variety of ways, and they don't want to offend them. Get them to do the work for them, right? So that's why the US doesn't do it. Aries Manticore says, missed several sessions, was free only today. Thank you for your contribution. The enemy wins if we let despair win. We must wrestle with it, not ignore it. This is our burden and karma. Well, thank you very much, sir. I'm glad you're here today. And thank you very much once again for your very kind words. And I completely agree with you. We must not let despair win. Don't ignore it. Wrestle with it, fight it, bear the burden, and eventually we prevail. Thank you, sir. I agree. Bhuvendra Uppada says, What do we work towards to change the country as it is right now? Because whenever people try to bring a major change, it is met with friction. How can we change this? We can change this by each of us individually trying to raise our standards, be excellent, and contribute in any meaningful way to the country. Let me give you an example. Let's say I know that let's say you're not in politics. You can't do anything to change the system. You can't do anything to change the policies. You can't do anything to change the bureaucracy and so on and so forth. You're just an individual. But how about you become, in 10 years, a multimillionaire? Then you will have the means to make some changes in the country in some way, maybe in the private sector or whatever. You'll be able to bring high quality people together and build something, construct something. My point is, each of us individually can contribute in a small way, but if 1.4 billion people do that, it's going to be a massive change for India. That's what we do. So all of us, that's what we need to do: contribute in our own small way, in some shape or form or the other. And you do that by raising your standards, and you do that by succeeding individually. Whatever personal selfish dreams and goals you have, work on those and succeed. That brings more positivity, more success throughout the country. That's what you do. Knowledge Seeker says, will Israel and India strike Pakistan? If yes, but then when? No, not going to happen. Nope. Aries Manticore says, I meant a transport corridor from Afghanistan to Chabahar. From Afghanistan to Chabahar. Okay. The North-South corridor was not supported by Iran completely. Iran was too prickly about us finishing it. Well, Iran has, we've had issues with Iran, right? A transport corridor from Afghanistan to Chabahar. If India is in that situation, Iran will not give us that. Even if it was there, it would no longer be operational. The INSTC, right? International North-South Transport Corridor, was not supported by Iran completely. Iran was too prickly about us finishing it. Yeah. The Iranians have been obstinate about many things. One very small thing we once requested Iran for was for Iran to give us some cheetahs. So the Asian cheetah is extinct in India because the British massacred it. They genocided it. Our cheetah. But some cheetahs, a small population of cheetahs, still exists in Iran, which is the same species as our cat, as our cheetah. So we had requested Iran in the 20th century, please send us some cheetahs so that we can reintroduce the animal in our land. They refused for decades. And finally, we got cheetahs from Namibia. So the Iranians have had these tendencies, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but whatever. Shreyas Sonavane says, curious to why Iran attacked UK and France airbase. Most likely because those air bases are being used for military operations against them. That's the only reason I can think of. Nagarjun says, Russia-Ukraine war has been going on for more than a year. No, it's been going on for close to 4 years now. Yeah, it's been more than 4 years now. February 22. Now we are in March 26, 4 years. It's been going on for more than 4 years. Do you think this war now will end in 1 or 2 months' time, or it will be going on for years? I think Iran has the firepower, but no clear goal for now. Okay, about the Ukraine war, I don't see it ending in the next 1 or 2 months. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it ends next week, but I think it's hard for me to see that happening in the next couple of months. I hope I'm wrong. It's been a disastrous war, terrible for the civilians, and I hope it ends at the earliest. But I think it's kind of unlikely it'll happen. It'll end very soon, 1 or 2 months. I hope I'm wrong. Yeah. Darshan Khandelwal has become a new member. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome to the channel's membership. I really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. That brings me to the end of today's live stream. Thank you. Okay, let's take this question. Sir is getting emotional toward the war. It's okay to take a backseat. They've blown the hell out of Russia. It's only practice. Okay. What are you talking about? All right, people. Let's end this live stream now over here. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you for everything. When should I do the next live stream? Maybe day after tomorrow. maybe day after tomorrow. Let's see. There's going to be a lot happening in this war, unfortunately. So let's do a live stream, most likely day after tomorrow, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more to discuss at the time. Until then, thank you very much, everybody. Take care. Keep asking questions. Keep raising your standards. Keep learning. And I will see you in the next one very soon. Until then, take care. Bye-bye. Good night. Good day.